everyone. Welcome to episode 17 of the Columbus
17.
Comics Corner podcast. My name
We
is
are
Ryan.
almost legal.
What's that?
I said we are almost legal.
Oh, you dirty, dirty man. We are here. I am Ryan. With me, as always, is Alan. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. As always, let's get some quick show stuff out of the way. You can always find our podcasts available for download at columbuscomicscorner.podbean.com. As well, you can email us if you'd like at columbuscomicscorner@gmail.com, and follow us on Twitter as well at Comics Corner Pod. And we also are on iTunes as well, so you can rate and review us on there and also download our episodes. But as well, we also are a spoilers podcast, so once we get to the comics, we are going to discuss them, dissect them, and all that good stuff. So if you haven't read the books yet, hit pause and come back. Or if you just want to hear us talk about it, maybe you want to see what we think first before you go out and get everything. But we do have some entertainment news that we are going to touch on, as well as comic book news. And I'll let you take it away with the entertainment news.
Well, of course, the first thing is the second and final trailer for the Logan movie finally came out. Did you get a chance to check that out a few times?
I did not watch it. I'm going.
What?
I'm going in dark after that first trailer.
No. No, you have to watch the second trailer.
I can't do it.
It's not like, I know we've talked before about when some of these movies do like 3, 4, 5 trailers before the movie comes out.
Yeah.
And it spoils so much stuff in the movie. This does not spoil anything. It really only shows 2 interesting things that we didn't see before.
Okay. Yeah, it's not even like this, like spoilers, I guess. It's more, I just want to see everything on screen for the first time. Because I started it, I got like 30 seconds in, I saw the convenience store scene, and I think that's right after that's when I dropped, because that was a perfect scene. I was like, okay, that's all I need to see. I can wait till March.
So you didn't see the final official, like, there's no more tiptoeing around it reveal?
I saw some stills on Twitter, so I figured.
Okay,
yeah.
so you know what I've said from the beginning before they even said anything was true, that the little girl is Laura.
Yep. So
there was that reveal. So you say you saw the stills? I'm taking it up when her claws were coming out.
Yep, I think when she's walking, it looks like she's like she's by herself. It's just a still of her. And she has the claws coming out.
There's a bit more to it, but yeah, it's kind of funny the way they set it up to get to that point where she's walking by herself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other reveal, which is interesting, and I want to see how they're going to play it in the movie, is the fact that I'm guessing this is probably the first time that Logan's actually meeting her with Professor X, and she's a comic book fan.
Yeah, I saw the stills of that too.
So you
Logan,
saw what her favorite comic book is.
Yeah, X-Men.
Yeah, which is funny, and it's funny because Logan says he's reading the comic book. He says we have an X-Men fan here, and then he's reading the book, and then he looks at it, and there's a scene with him in the yellow and blue suit, and he's kind of like, yeah, most of this is garbage. Only about 20% of it is actually what happened.
Yeah, but what were your thoughts overall? I'm sure the people at least want to hear one of us discuss it.
Well, as somebody who was a huge Wolverine fan and a huge Laura / X-23 fan, I love the trailer. I watched both versions of it. I watched the red band version and the regular version of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting that they're going to take the route that the escapades of the X-Men have been so big and so massive in the world that they've actually managed to become a comic book.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. That they would kind of ballsy, I think, too, to throw that in there.
It's not unlike something we see happen in comics themselves.
Yeah, it's very true.
We just did in December. We just did, I think it was the Harley Quinn issue, and we noticed that all the little kids were playing with like Wonder Woman dolls, and they basically had toys and action figures modeled after the real life superheroes.
Yeah.
So I mean, in a way, if these characters were real and they were doing these things to the point where like they're on the news and people were hearing about them, it would make sense that they would trickle down into other forms of entertainment. Like there would be cartoons based off of them, and there would be movies based off of them, and they would definitely make it into comic books. Comic book artists would be like, "This is a gold mine."
Mm-hmm. And it's not something you wouldn't be surprised to see. Like I could see it happening in like a Deadpool movie too, like easily.
Yeah, but look, they're doing it kind of sort of in the Spider-Man movie, because in the Spider-Man trailer we see the bank robbers, and they've all got Avengers masks.
Yeah, the mask
means
on.
that there's some company in the Marvel universe that is making masks and stuff based off of the Avengers.
I wonder if that'll ever be like revealed. If they'll like, that'd be cool.
You know what? Now that I think about it, they did it in the first Avengers movie, because at the end when all the people are cheering on about what the Avengers did for them, I believe there's a guy that has like a Captain America shirt on.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen that.
It's not the first time we've seen something like that, but it's normally subtle stuff. To see a comic book is like a whole nother level, and it's almost meta in a way, because it's like the movie is acknowledging that the X-Men come from comic books, yet and still in the movie universe of the X-Men, they're comic books based off of them. Like, it's weird. It's like a weird meta joke almost.
It really is. No, I'm excited for it though. Yeah, because we figured we had a feeling it was going to be Laura Kinney, so that's cool. That's
we had that feeling when I first saw the little girl. I was like, oh, that's got to be X-23. That's got to be Laura. And then, they kind of never really said, and then they said, well, she is in the movie, but they didn't confirm that it was a little girl. But we're us who know, we were like, that's got to be her. There's nobody else it could be. And now they released this trailer a couple months before the movie, and you see the two claws, and you're like, yep, that's her.
Yeah, I think it's the first superhero movie of the year too, isn't it?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Logan is kicking off this year's round of superhero movies.
And they had Deadpool last year, kicking things off, and now Logan this year.
I'm just kind of curious to see how this is going to end, because we know that this is supposed to be Hugh Jackman's last time playing Wolverine, and I'm wondering if they're just going to reboot the X universe again, or if they're just going to continue and just do comic book storylines where Laura is going to take the place of Logan as Wolverine.
I would hope so. It would make the most sense, I guess, but it would also be a badass storyline.
Yeah,
they could easily maybe like jump in the future, like make her a little bit older, like have time pass type deal.
Well, that's the thing. Depending on how this girl, I'm not sure her name, the actress's name, but depending on how she portrays her in this movie, it'll probably be a couple of movies before, a couple of years before we get an actual X-Men movie. So if she portrays her good, I would like for them to bring her back, and then that way we can kind of actually watch X-23 grow into the character.
True. Yeah, it makes me wonder if she'll end up being set in the same time and universe as New Mutants when that comes out.
I'm wondering that too, and it'd be kind of interesting to see if it was to see her maybe make an appearance, or I'm not sure what lineup of New Mutants they're going to do, or if they just like maybe put her on the team itself.
I was just about to say, technically she is a New Mutant. So
she's a New Mutant, and the New Mutants are traditionally like the teenagers, the younger mutants. So like it'd be interesting to see if like that was her first introduction. If like Professor X or whoever it is like, we're going to put you on this team to kind of test you out and see how you do, and then maybe eventually you guys can work your way up to actually be an X-Men.
Right, that'd be perfect. That'd be cool storyline for sure.
But for those who are wondering, if you can't guess, I did love the trailer. Watched it a couple times, and I'm even more excited for this movie. I can't wait for March.
Yeah, same here. It's gonna be a good year for movies, hopefully. Which one?
It's looking that way.
Yeah. What's your most anticipated one?
You said what's my most anticipated one?
Yeah.
My number one most anticipated movie is actually Spider-Man.
Okay.
And then it's followed by Thor, and then Logan.
Nice. I'm gonna have to go with Justice League as my.
Oh, I forgot that's this year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the last one of the year, I believe. November.
I might have to rethink my order then. It's still gonna be Spider-Man, but I think number 2 is gonna be Justice League now.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot riding. Oh no, Wonder Woman. What am I thinking? So if I'm going top three, I'm going to go Justice League, Wonder Woman, Logan. I'm excited for Spider-Man because I want to see what they do with it. I think it's going to be awesome.
That's why Spider-Man is my number one, because I think like this is huge for both Sony and Marvel with the character, especially like he signed on for like a 6-picture deal.
Yeah, and we know it's Marvel, so they're not going to fuck it up. That's why like I can't put it at my most anticipated because like I trust in Marvel not to screw things up, like, at least at this point. So
it's just anticipated for me because since the beginning, I've always wanted to see Marvel actually do a Spider-Man movie.
Take it over and do it right.
Yeah, so that's why it's so anticipated, because that's like I've said it time and time again. Spider-Man is one of my first few heroes. He's probably the third hero that I really got into. Behind no, matter of fact, Flash and Spider-Man were my first two heroes. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I always knew of Spider-Man, but he wasn't like my favorite. But I always thought he was cool. I remember watching the old movies when I was growing up, and the TV show. I saw like bits and pieces of the TV show. I remember.
I had only saw the TV movie.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
From like the 70s.
Yeah.
Was it the one where he was trying to stop these? There were some college students that were building a nuclear bomb.
It's been so long since I've seen that.
Is it crazy how I remember that? Like I watched it a few times. I remember renting the movie from West Coast Video, and I was so geeked because it was Spider-Man. What'd you say?
I said shout out to West Coast Video.
Yeah, West Coast Video. If you're still kicking around somewhere. Yeah, so I remember renting that, and I remember being geeked because it was Spider-Man, but then I remember being a little upset when I saw the costume.
Yeah, it was a little, I remember the costume just being like, almost looked like cloth. It wasn't...
It was like a Halloween costume almost.
Yeah.
And he had
special.
Like the one web shooter on the outside of the outfit.
I remember, I think they might even put that on the toy when they released it. I have this really vague memory of them doing that. Just copying it.
The only Spider-Man toy I remember having the web shooter on the outfit on the outside was the Ben Reilly Spider-Man. Okay. And that's because that's how his suit was built. He had the web cartridges on the outside of the suit.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, Ben Reilly.
Oh, Ben. But cool, we can move on. Speaking of Spider-Man, that's a good segue. Yeah,
that was an awesome segue. I didn't do that on purpose. So the next bit of entertainment news we actually have is the fact that Sony has a Spider-Man animated movie coming out this year, and it's actually set to star, drum roll, Miles Morales, which is going to be pretty awesome. The news was just confirmed by Sony Pictures animation president Christine Belson, whose division of the film also worked on the Lego Movie. And speaking of the Lego Movie, the co-screenwriter Phil Lord wrote the script for the film with Bob Persetti.
Yeah, I think so.
And Peter Ramsey is going to be directing it. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, for a minute, like I didn't add it to the show notes because I kept thinking they were just reproducing the news of the TV show. Because they didn't really say like animated movie or whatnot, so I was like, oh, maybe it's just a TV show. But then I finally looked into it, and it makes sense that they would Marvel will be cranking this out, or Sony, I should say.
It makes it. You know why? Because Sony. Because I know Andrew Garfield, who, if people recognize that name, he was Spider-Man / Peter Parker in the 2 Amazing Spider-Man movies. He had a conversation before where he talked about that because he was signed on to play Spider-Man. I think it was like up to 5 movies at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually had talked about the fact that he would love for them to have did that in the movie universe, where eventually he handed the mantle of Spider-Man off to Miles Morales.
To Miles, yeah, that'd have been cool.
So we would have had like a continuation of the Spider-Man movies, but it would have been this no reboot. It would have been a whole, whether he died or lost his powers, or if he just got too old, or whatever. Well, however they would have done it, he would have eventually wanted to hand it off to Miles Morales. He thought that would have been awesome to do that in the films, and it would have been. But Sony's thing was that to them, people hear the name Spider-Man, they automatically think Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, Miles was still a pretty new, fresh character. Obviously, hugely popular character, but he was still a new character. So for obvious reasons, they didn't think that would even work. I kind of see this as a way for them to test those waters. Let's throw them in an animated movie. Let's see how the animated movie does and how the people react. And if the reaction is positive enough, maybe this is something we could do further down the line.
And the way they're pushing everything Spider-Man right now, and even pushing this, because they have the Miles Morales and cartoon, the TV show that's coming out, and that's going to have Spider-Gwen. And if you think about the whole Spider-Gwen and Miles Morales crossover event right now, like they're pushing it on all frames. You got Clone Conspiracy, you got the movie coming out. So there's a huge resurgence in Spider-Man right now from both companies.
I think that goes to show that they made up. They made that little deal. They made up. They came to some kind of common ground. They're like, well, now that we have this understanding, let's all go full ahead with Spider-Man.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'll definitely watch it. It's cool to see Miles Morales get more of a spotlight outside of Peter Parker.
Would it be interesting if the whole animated film is coming because of the meetings they had with Marvel? Do you think that maybe Marvel sat down and was like, okay, well, we're due, because I know Marvel's doing 3 Spider-Man movies for Sony.
Okay.
And then whatever 3 appearances he's going to have for right now in the Marvel universe. Do you think they were like, well, we had this idea with Miles Morales that we think could work, and kind of ran it by Sony and explained it in a way where Sony was like, you know what, we didn't really like the character, but maybe you guys are right, and your vision for the character is right. We're going to do an animated movie to kind of test the water. Do you think that's the reason they're doing this now?
Oh, yeah. I believe at this point, Sony's like, we believe in you, Marvel. Take this.
Yeah, you think Marvel talked some sense into them?
Oh, I bet they did, easily. They probably didn't have to, really. Like, because they've been watching Marvel, I'm sure, since the beginning of their time, and just how big they've grown, and just like the background of people knowing how solid their movies are. Even if you don't like one of them, it's still at least a good movie. So yeah,
that's the thing. Marvel's films, they're either good or great.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Like, I have not seen a Marvel movie and been like, oh, that's just utter, a piece of trash, it's garbage. You're either like, that was pretty good, or you're like, that was great.
That was great, yeah. Easily. No, we'll see what happens, because I wonder if they're going to push Spider-Gwen in the animated feature as well.
One person who would love that.
Not you.
Oh, man. That would be a travesty.
Maybe we'll get a Spider-Gwen spinoff at some point, too, I'm sure.
That would be awesome to do this, have a Spider-Gwen spinoff.
Give us a Spider-Woman, too, while you're at it.
That, too. I know, her, when they were doing the Flash comics a few years ago, do you remember when they were real big into doing Flash comics? The motion comics?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I never checked any of them out, but I know what you're talking about.
You never did?
Mm-mm.
Oh, they're great. I like them personally. Like, some people don't. I like them because they're a blend between a digital comic and animation, because they animate some of the panels, but they use the actual panels from the comic and the actual dialogue from the comic.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really good. I've seen the I believe it was the all new X-Men, the 3 they did for them, which was good. And then I saw the Spider-Woman. The Spider-Woman was really good.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, look for the Spider-Woman like that. Yeah, it's really, really good. And I've seen the I have 2 of the Wolverines they did also, and those were good too.
Oh yeah, yeah. The animated feature should be good. It makes sense that they're going to be pushing all this stuff at this point in time. They're like, let's
all with it. That's hey. I'm all for Marvel's newer characters getting spotlights for people who don't know about them to learn about them. Like Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, definitely would love him to do something with that. And if those work out, I would hope eventually there'd be some kind of spotlight on like Riri Williams. Like, I think some of these newer characters like really need to get exposed to either people who are holding off on reading them just because they don't like the idea of them, or people who are thinking about getting into comics or thinking about learning more about different comic characters and may not have a chance to learn about these particular characters.
And I'll kind of bring that up later once we talk about one of the books.
Oh, I'm sure that you will, and I'm sure that I'll have a lot to say when we get to that point.
Yeah, buddy.
I have an idea what book that is.
There's one thing I forgot to put in there. Nothing like crazy. Well, it is pretty cool, but the did you see the Judas Contract Titans animated feature still?
I have not yet. No, yeah, I did see the still. Yes,
with has Terra and
Terra.
And for some reason, it has a blue beetle. I thought that was a little odd. I wish I had the picture in front of me. But,
I remember, I had forgot they even announced that. Like, it felt like it felt like forever ago when they first announced it, they were even doing that.
Yeah, I think they might have announced it, I want it around Comic-Con, San Diego. I want to say that's when it was announced. We might have even touched on it, I believe. Might have been our first episode, actually.
Could have been. That sounds about the time the first episode dropped.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. I don't think there's a release date for that yet, or also no release date for Spider-Man either. Well, the animated feature at least.
See, I think DC's animated features are funny because they jump from having a continuity to doing a famous popular storyline.
Yeah, randomly.
Yeah, which I don't have a problem with. Like certain storylines you read like this to make an awesome cartoon or a movie.
Yeah, I would prefer to see a live action Judas Contract, but maybe for the Miles Morales animated feature, maybe they're just throwing this out there first, see how people react, and then maybe down the road we'll get a Titans movie.
Yeah, most of the time
they have Deadshot in the DC universe now, in the movie universe.
But what I think about when I see the DC doing the popular storylines, for the most part, I see a lot of that as fan service.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Because think about the ones that we've gotten. We've got the Dark Knight Returns. We've got the Killing Joke. We're doing the Judas Contract. They made an attempt at the death of Superman. They failed on that one. I think they need to go back and redo that one.
I don't think I saw that one.
Superman Doomsday?
Yeah, I don't think I saw. I remember
terrible.
Yeah, I remember the poster for it, but I don't think I ever watched it.
Awesome poster, terrible movie, and I'm judging this from a fan aspect because, like I said, that's one of my favorite storylines. When I first got back into comics, the first two storylines I read were the Death and Return of Superman and Batman Nightfall. Like, those are the first two storylines I reread when I got back into comics. And I remember growing up, that was like the first time I heard any talk about comics in the news was with the death of Superman. Yeah. I remember how much of a big deal it was. I remember I had a couple of the post-death issues where I had the funeral issue as a kid, and I had the number ones for all of the for the Reign of Superman.
Nice. I actually picked up the funeral issue. I want to say a few months back, and it was on 25-cent bin. I was like, perfect, I'll take it.
Oh, I went back and because the death, I have the trade of the death and I have the trade of the return, and then I got the single issue of the I forgot what it was called. It was the one when they right before the fake Superman popped up. There was an issue where John Kent had a heart attack and he was like in between life and death, and he had this vision of helping Superman through the land of the dead. And then when he woke up, he said he's back, and then that's when the other four Superman popped. Like, I have the whole entire thing up to when he died, all the way to when he finally defeated Doomsday when he came back.
Okay, yeah, I'm not too familiar with some of the Superman lore. A lot of it, actually.
I'm not super familiar, but when it comes to talking about that storyline, like, that's one of those ones I can talk about. Like, seriously, that's like when we talk about the I'm sure everybody will hear it, but we were talking about the Justice League, and how terrible the '90s Justice League was. That was the '90s Justice League. The '90s Justice League let Superman die because it was like the worst lineup for the Justice League ever.
I need to go back and watch that at some point.
Yeah, that had to come up. That had to be touched on again.
Again. Cool. We can move on from there, though. We do have some comic book news, and this first piece is about, well, the next two pieces are going to be about DC, but I'm sure everyone.
I'm outraged.
Yeah,
I'm sure outraged.
Alan's going to try not to burn his studio down, or his apartment down, at least I should say.
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to throw some of these DC books I got sitting around here.
Start a fire, a little campfire.
Yep.
But yeah, the first piece I'm sure everyone's already heard about, but we are going to touch on it just because we haven't talked about it to each other yet. But DC's digital titles hold the line at $2.99 despite the print book's price increase, and this is from Newsarama. And DC's newly announced plans to add digital access codes as part of a $1 price increase to certain DC Rebirth titles will only affect printed versions of those books. All $2.99 Rebirth titles will remain at the price point on digital distribution outlets at least until or in April. As announced Tuesday, the print version of 15 monthly DC titles will be raised from $2.99 to $3.99 per issue. And boy, that came fast.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, with added value of the access codes for the digital versions of each book. This change, planned to take effect in April, will affect Batgirl, Batgirls and the Birds of Prey, Batman Beyond, Batwoman, Blue Beetle, Cyborg, the Hellblazer, New Superman, Red Hood and the Outlaws, Super Sons, man. That's a burn.
Burn me.
Burn. Supergirl, Superwoman, Teen Titans, man. Trinity. So, also, so hard to read this. The new pricing plan seems to create a two-tier pricing structure for affected titles. Print books with digital access codes sold by and large by brick-and-mortar comic book retailers will be $3.99, and digital books sold by digital retailers such as Comixology will be $2.99. And additionally, the $4.99 All-Star Batman will also come with a digital access code, but it is scheduled to remain at its current price point. And that's one of the reasons I stopped buying that book, because of that price point. Yeah, I figured we all knew that this was coming at some point, but not this soon. And I think they're, it sounds like they're making up their losses for some of these sales. Because I know a lot of people, because I dropped some of these books myself just because, unfortunately, the storylines weren't doing it for me personally.
And that's where the problem lies. The problem lies in the fact that if you give us good storylines, we will buy it. You don't have to do a price hike. More people would buy it if you put a decent storyline into it.
Exactly. Man, but yeah, like Super Sons, like that's a bummer. And plus, like, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's not even out yet. Like, out of almost everything named on the list, like that's not even out. And that's out of everything DC has right now, other than probably the second Rebirth title. That's probably one of the most anticipated issues they got coming out. That thing is going to sell. You leave it at $2.99, it will sell.
Because you got the same team writing it that did the prequel, and everyone raved about that prequel arc. Everyone raved about it.
Exactly. You got us hooked already. We're already hooked. We're going to get the book. We're going to tell people to get the book. When people ask us, what book should I get? I'm interested in getting the comics. What book should I get? You might like Super Sons. Yeah,
and so I forgot to put the list of the remaining books that are $2.99 then, which are, I believe, off the top of my head, Batman, Superman, what else? Detective Comics, Flash. Those are the ones I can think off the top of my head right now.
Action Comics is Action Comics staying too?
Action Comics is $2.99, yeah.
But this is the thing: is when they first announced this Rebirth thing, they said all books would be $2.99. You know, all of us who wanted to get back into DC or missed the old stuff in DC, we rejoiced. We were so happy. We knew it wasn't going to last forever. But my thinking, and call me crazy for this, my thinking was you do this whole Rebirth story angle and all these issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
You sell them all for $2.99. You reestablish the new universe, and then you do the price hike.
Right. Wait until your first like huge event for this whole Rebirth thing.
Yeah.
Wait till after that.
If anything, the event that's going to lead into the end of the Rebirth, have that event be the higher price books to kind of get us prepared to go into all books are going to be $3.99 now.
Yeah, and it's so weird too. Like you think about it, you know, everyone's been saying, "Hey, DC, get digital downloads for your books." And they're doing it, but in a roundabout way of only providing it to certain books. Besides,
and they're almost forcing you to get the digital books.
Exactly.
You know, Marvel was like, "Look, we're just going to take our digital codes out. If you guys want the digital books, you can still go online and get them. Have fun reading your books." DC's like, "Nah. We're going to hike the price on these regular books, and we're going to force you. If you want $3.99, you have to get the digital version."
Yeah.
I'm not biting.
And if you think about it too, like they have because that's when a lot of for some of the solicitation, that's when a lot of new books are launching as well in April. So think about it; those are going to be $3.99. Plus, if you want to read anything else that you've been reading, that's $3.99. You know, you got to take into account your pull list and how much money you can afford each week on some of these books. Plus, if you read, you know, any outside companies besides DC and Marvel. Like, it's me, personally, I don't buy a lot of DC books, because there's, like, certain ones I do buy, but a lot of stuff I read, a lot of Image and Valiant, so this is, like, not going to make me want to jump onto any of these other books, you know, just because, say, it's a slow week. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna pick up this first arc, and, you know, excuse me, $2.99 a piece. You know, that's not bad, you know, but, yeah, hiking that up, it's going to make it harder.
For me, since we've been doing this show, I've been getting more DC books. I traditionally don't buy a lot of DC books, but I've been getting a lot more DC books lately, and a bunch of them I have been enjoying. And there's been a couple of books on both DC and the Marvel side that, because of this show and because of us discussing them, I have put them on my pull list now.
Yeah.
So I'm following these issues, and what's going to happen is I'm going to have to eventually start cutting back on what books I'm putting on my pull list,
right,
because of this price point.
Right.
You know, if they have a crazy event where I feel like I hate to bring this event up because it's kind of painful for me, but Convergence. I got almost every book that came out that had to do with Convergence when Convergence was out. If they do the last part of this Rebirth where it's like that, where the story is you need to have every book, or every book connects, or they do something like that where it's a massive thing, I guess who's going to be missing out on a lot of plot points in those books.
Yeah, especially if they're, you know, sprinkling things out. It's going to make it harder for people to, you know, catch everything.
Yeah, every book's not going to sell gangbusters. That's impossible. Every book that a company publishes and puts out is not going to be, you know, an extremely great selling book. Mm-hmm. If you want to make profit, or you want to raise the awareness of a book that's not selling well, give it a better story.
Yeah,
we are buying these books for the stories.
Artwork
definitely helps.
Oh yeah,
but a great story will allow you to. There's been plenty of books we've reviewed where we're kind of like, yes, this artwork isn't all the way good, but the story is good, and I'll keep reading because of the story involved.
Yep.
So I think they lose track of that sometimes.
Yeah, they can't seem to make up their minds. Excuse me, on certain things. It seems like.
No, and like I said, we knew this was coming.
Oh yeah.
We all knew eventually that $2.99 wasn't going to be forever, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. It's just a surprise that it's coming so quickly.
Yeah, I would expect it, like we said, after their first whatever this whole Watchmen thing is. I would, like you said, once they establish the Rebirth universe, then go from there and put it back to $3.99. That makes the most sense. And then put digital codes in all your books. That way, more people are going to want to buy everything. Because I don't like whenever I get Marvel books, I don't use the digital codes.
Same here.
Yeah, personally. So a lot of people do get books for those digital codes. That way, they can take them anywhere they want instead of having to haul around a bunch of books, which is convenience, obviously. So yeah, it's just a little disappointing for DC right now. I know a lot of people are pretty bummed about this. And before some of these books, especially when
we're getting to a point where it seems the Rebirth story angle is actually starting to pick up.
Yeah,
like they're still sprinkling some stuff, but they're coming with a little bit more things as of lately. A little bigger hints are coming. They're signing on bigger writers that are, essentially hinting at the fact that they're going to be a part of this big thing and something giant is coming. So it's kind of bad to do it now.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard too. They already canceled their first book. This news came out after the news of their cancellation of Vigilante. Like they're still going to finish it, but put it out in trade.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's their first cancellation. So it's interesting to see that. Now that they're canceling one book and now increasing their prices on some books come April, it kind of shows that they probably took a loss on some of these books, and they'll have to either change up the creative teams or some of these books will be canceled.
That's pretty much what it's coming down to, is that they're going to have to start canceling certain books and then trying to make up the loss on most of those books by raising the price on these other books.
Yeah, it's a bummer that All-Star
Just as long as they don't cancel Super Sons, I'm fine.
Yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope. I'm sure it's gonna be solid, but let's just hope it's good, and everyone's gonna be buying that book. I know I am.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But yeah, let's move on from there though. At least they announced Batman in the Shadow crossover, written by Scott Snyder, Steve Orlando, and art by Riley Rossimo. Starting in April, DC Comics will team up with Dynamite to publish Batman Shadow, team up between the Dark Knight and the classic pulp hero. According to a solicitation found on Comixology, the series will be written by Scott Snyder, Steve Orlando, with art by Riley Rossimo. So yeah, that should be interesting. I've never read any of the Shadow stuff, but this has me, I'll get anything Batman, so this has me interested to check it out.
I've read some Shadow. I have a couple issues of the Shadow. I was a fan of the movie as a kid.
Same here.
I like the character for the most part. For what I know of him, I'm not an expert on the Shadow. I would just say, who knows what lies in the heart of men? The Shadow knows. And I'm sure anybody who is a little bit with the Shadow knows what that is.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, I think this would be awesome. I
want
to see how. Huh?
I said it's flying over my head right now, but it's been a while since I've seen the movie. If that's what.
That was essentially like the tagline of the Shadow.
Okay.
Like the tagline when they like for a movie, the movie has a tagline.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was for the Shadow. Was who knows what lies in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
The Shadow. But yeah, I also forgot to mention it's due out April 26th, and that's probably gonna be.
I'll be picking that up.
It's gonna be $6.99.
Well, I'll be okay to pay that $6.99. It's gonna be a limited series.
It's probably $3.99, but who knows by that time? Who knows?
I'm just saying that's one of those cases where I'll be okay paying that higher price for that. I just want to know how Batman's going to react to the Shadow, because the Shadow uses guns, and we know Batman's issue with guns.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I mean, I trust in Scott Snyder. Steve Orlando has been, from what I've read so far, it's been a miss for me. But we'll see how much collaboration is involved with that. I think Riley Rossimo's art will fit, especially for the Shadow.
I think we're getting a lot of team up issues this year. Have you noticed that? A lot of crossovers.
A lot. Hopefully, we're not crossover fatigued.
I think somebody's been listening to the Columbus Comics Corner and hearing this guy who talks about how he loves crossovers.
He'll buy every single one.
I will get them. I just bought Superman Madman. You remember Madman?
No, it sounds familiar.
If you've seen him, you would remember him. I just remember seeing him. He never interested me as a character. He had like an all-white suit on with like a red thunderball on his chest.
Okay.
But I got that because of my fascination with crossovers.
You gotta get them all.
Yeah, it was like Pokemon with me. Like, I gotta get them all.
Hell yeah. Cool. Well, let's move on to the Marvel side of things.
Yes.
So it was announced Old Man Logan to relive classic Wolverine moments in Lemire's last arc before the new creative team takes over. And so this is a little lengthy, but Old Man Logan writer Jeff Lemire will be ending his 20-plus issue run on the Marvel ongoing series with a 4-part story, forcing the one-time Wolverine to really relive some of his classic moments. And as reported by IGN, April's Old Man Logan number 21 will kick off a 4-part, twice-monthly arc with Lemire and Eric Wynn putting the aged James Logan Howlett. I actually never knew his first and last name. Howlett.
Yes, you did.
Did I? I mean, I'm sure I did, but
yeah, they revealed it in the X-Men Origins. That's when they first revealed his real name and when he was born and all that.
Oh, it's been so long.
I remembered that. Like as a fan of Wolverine, when they revealed his real name, I remembered that.
Nice. But yeah, so James Howlett through the time travel ringer. This is a quote from Jeff Lemire. For me, a large part of writing Old Man Logan has been about taking Old Man Wolverine tropes and stories and then seeing those again, but through the lens of Old Man Logan instead. With the different perspective he brings, said Lemire. The other big part of the series has been the man out of time aspect of Logan struggling with what may or may not be his apocalyptic future. So this story was really about taking both of those things and combining them into one last big story that brings everything I have done, that he's done, I should say, into a full circle. Blah blah. Can't read sometimes. But yeah, that would be cool. It's kind of sad to see him go. I've liked every time I've jumped back into Old Man Logan with his series. It's been pretty solid, and we've covered a couple of them on here so far.
Yeah, I think we've done 2 or 3.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I'm excited for this. It sounds interesting. Sounds like he's going out on a nice little bang before the new creative team takes over. But yeah, I should mention too, there's no info on the new creative team as of yet.
I have 2 things to say about this. First, I think it's funny all this stuff is happening in April.
Yeah.
We're getting Batman Shadow. We're getting the end of Old Man Logan. Well, the end of his run of Old Man Logan.
Price increases.
And then we're also getting the DC price hikes.
Plus their event. Because we get the button.
Plus we're getting April showers also.
Yeah, the button starts in April too. And there was something else I saw that there's quite a few things coming out in April.
I guess when it rains, it pours.
Super Sons? No, it's next month. That's next month.
That's next month. That's next month, yeah. Oh, I can't wait for Super Sons.
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
But we're talking about Old Man Logan right now. I think it's going to be interesting. I want to see what classic Wolverine moments he's going to kind of relive.
Yeah, that's to be revealed. I think it'll be good. I mean, I trust in Jeff Lemire for sure.
Something tells me the Hawk will be in there somewhere.
Yeah, he did say grabbing all those old Wolverine tropes and just throwing sounds like he's just throwing everything at the drawing board, and hopefully it pans out. I trust in Lemire, so.
Well, hopefully he'll leave something solid for the next writing team to come in and.
Oh yeah.
The next team to come in and do something with.
I'm sure, and hopefully that next team.
That way it'll feel like more of a continuation as opposed to a whole new feel to the book because it's a different team.
I was gonna say it almost feels like they have a new legacy to uphold too after Lemire's run.
Yeah.
But yeah, sweet. Yeah, that's all the comic book news that I grabbed. I checked before we record, but there was nothing new. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but we usually only select a few things.
Hey, we can't cover everything.
No, we can't. But from there, though, we can.
That's above our pay grade right now.
Right. Marvel pay us for Marvel or DC. You can pay us to talk about your news more.
If you guys want us to, go a little more in depth and talk about more news, we'd be more than happy to. As well as mentioning that we have wonderful sponsors like Marvel and DC Comics.
Oh, in due time. But cool, yeah, we can move on to the comics, though, from there.
Yes, let's get to what we all came here for. All right, well, that brings tonight then, which is going to be Justice League versus Suicide Squad number 5. It kind of feels like we're flying through this at this point.
Oh, yeah, one more issue left.
Yeah, and this was written by Joshua Williamson with Robinson Rocca as penciler, Jay Lesson, Daniel, Hirokis, and Sandu Flora, and Auclair Albert as inkers. I didn't realize they had so many. Yeah, they put everybody on this. And rounding out the team would be Alex Sinclair with Jeremiah Skipper as the colorist. We open up this issue seeing what Max Lord's plan is. He's actually dispatched the Justice League around the world to do different jobs. The Flash job was to go and disable all the nukes on the planet. The Green Lanterns were to go and cover the Earth, prevent it from alien attacks. Aquaman obviously took care of the borders that actually had shores. And then Wonder Woman took care of the Congress and the higher-ups. Essentially, she took care of Washington. And then Cyborg took care of communications, which left only the White House, which he went there with Superman, and then they essentially took it over. Meanwhile, we get to see Amanda Waller, Deadshot, and Batman trying to figure out how they're going to escape from this rubble and figure out exactly what's going on. Amanda kind of talks about how she hid the crystal in order to prevent it from getting into the wrong hands, and obviously that didn't work. We get a quick little scuffle with Batman and Deadshot, and then we get Superman who comes in to grab Amanda Waller, who Max Lord wants to kind of gloat and show off what he's done. After grabbing Waller, we get Lobo coming back, and then we essentially get the rest of the Justice League, well, not Justice League, but the Suicide Squad regrouping, where they are met with Cyborg, who essentially gives them an insight to the plan that's going on because he had a backup program to save his consciousness. So even though his human side was taken over, his program kicked in, he's able to help a little bit. And then once Amanda Waller shows Max Lord exactly what it is he's done, we see Washington on fire. Then we see the new Justice League, which is the Suicide Squad led by Batman, coming in and try to take down Maxwell Lord, who has now transformed into Eclipso. And that's actually where we end the issue. What were your thoughts and opinions on this? It was a pretty interesting issue.
Yeah, it was. It seems like at the start of the issue, we kind of jumped forward a little bit. So it seems like there was a gap that we didn't see in between issue 4 and 5. So that threw me off a little bit at first. It says, since we didn't, because we ended issue 4 with them turning into the Eclipso superheroes, I'll call them. But other than that, it was an interesting bit. The Batman Deadshot stuff, the other banter was good. I thought it was strange that Batman had that weird tech that trapped, or that what was it? The
little net.
Yeah, the mesh shielding.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that kind of factored in, like kind of jumping forward. I would have liked to see how, because we didn't see any of this sort of stuff happen, like the building collapsing. I didn't get a chance to go back and read issue 4, to see if there was anything leading up to them being trapped. I don't think there was.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah, from what I remember.
Because the end of the issue just showed Max Lord with the Justice League. That's exactly where it ended.
So it wasn't
really. So you kind of had to piece together. Well, you had to piece together through a couple of things that were said in this issue what exactly happened, and you kind of get a sense for how long ago all that stuff happened between the two issues.
True.
Because was it Harley? I think Harley made the comment that once Max Lord got control of the Justice League, they just blew right by everybody.
Yeah, because she was pissed at Cyborg. That's why she was attacking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I took it at the end of the last issue. They blew by them. On the way out, they obviously so you got Wonder Woman and Superman and basically everybody he took control of are like the god level heroes on the Justice League.
Yeah.
So I took it. They blew by. They destroyed Bell Rev on the way out. That gives us Batman with the net, and then the beginning of the book says basically like the first 2 minutes. So I'm taking it starting 2 minutes after they left is when everything went into play. So I don't think this is too far after.
Yeah, not too far.
That issue.
Yeah,
But when you first read it, you are kind of like, wait a sec, why are we starting here?
Right.
And it's that stuff you have to piece together by actually reading it. So.
Which makes sense. I mean, they have 2 issues left, so jump a little forward and like you said, piece thing or 3 little things that piece it together to give you a sense of how much time has passed since the last issue.
Yeah, so I took it as we were starting 2 minutes after the last issue. After I read through it and then pieced it together, and I was like, okay, so we're starting 2 minutes after this first issue, the last issue.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when Batman calls them the first, or he calls them. He says, "Welcome to Justice League, welcome to the Justice League." I was like,
yeah, I was like, oh, okay, so that's how we're going to get some of those people in the Justice League. Killer Frost is now a Justice League member, and so is Lobo.
Yep, that's how they got him on.
It's all explained in one panel.
So they're definitely closing up some not plot holes, but ending some plots and wrapping stuff up as we go on, which is cool. I'm
just interested to see once this is over. How because we know Killer Frost and we know Lobo are in the Justice League or on versions of the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious after this ends, is Deadshot gonna be like, I'm not really the Justice League type. I'll just go back to the squad or.
Yeah, I'm sure a few of them, especially like Harley, will go back to the squad, or Amanda Waller will talk him out of it or talk him into it or something.
I think she'll let Lobo go because she can't really control Lobo.
True.
And Killer Frost, I don't know. Killer Frost is a little bit more of a gray area.
Yeah, Amanda Waller's like, you can have Lobo, Batman. That motherfucker's, I can't control him.
Yeah, but I need Killer Frost.
Yes. I thought it was good when Batman, or not Batman, but Superman tosses Batman when he's like talking down to him.
Oh man, I almost said which time because he talked down to him like a couple times, but it was when he first went to get Waller.
Yeah, when he first went to get Waller.
And he was like, you spent your entire life trying to protect one city and failed, right. And then threw him to the side.
I was like, damn, that's harsh.
Like, is that how we feel, Soups?
Yeah, it's kind of sad we don't see. They got rid of the first Suicide Squad team.
Yeah,
but editorial note, you can find that in Supergirl.
Yeah, well, they had another editorial note in here when they talked about that last issue of Suicide Squad, when they talked about how Amanda Waller had sacrificed whole cities.
Yeah, I saw that. Mm-hmm.
My guess is, I don't know. At this point, I don't know. I was going to say, because most of the other Suicide Squad members, flew off or disappeared. So I'm like, well, maybe, the original Suicide Squad are going to pop up in issue 6 at the last minute.
Yeah, I would like to, but yeah, I don't see it happening, unfortunately.
I don't either, but I think that'd be pretty awesome.
That would be awesome. Then you got Katana.
I thought it was funny that Kryptonite doesn't affect Superman now.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe because it's the Eclipso diamond in him. Maybe it's shielding.
Maybe
it's shielding whatever he's immune to. Or not immune to, but affected by. But we're back to Katana.
So now he could take on magic.
Right. That's another thing I was thinking about. Where's Enchantress? Do you remember what happened to her?
That is a good question. They have not explained what happened to Enchantress because I don't recall. He didn't take any of the Suicide Squad, so Enchantress should have still been in Bel Rev. I don't remember her disappearing or leaving like some of the other members did.
Yeah, if I can remember correctly, I think they like not electrocuted her, but like knocked her out by electrocuting her. I think, unless that was in Suicide Squad.
They did something to her, but I don't remember what it was. I actually have the other issue sitting right here.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Let me see real fast. No, that's not that issue. That's
I think it was two or three. They got rid of her pretty. It
was
fast.
4.
Was it 4?
It was 4. 4 is when it happened. I thought I had 4 sitting right here, but I don't. I had 3 sitting right here.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird. Because 4 should be sitting right here also.
I thought the art was pretty solid. Harley looks really good in this issue. Probably the best I've seen her in a while.
Good artwork in this. Of course, as someone who's seen Harley drawn in so many different ways, this is definitely one of the better renditions of Harley.
Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, there was Boomerang.
That's going to bother me now. Like you said it, and it's going to bother me now because now I am like, well, where is Enchantress? Like that could be their ace in the hole.
Yeah, Boomerang had a pretty bad line in this book when he was talking to, I think, Harley Quinn. And he had mentioned about Dingo ate my baby, or at least the dingo didn't eat your baby. I wish I could find it.
Oh yeah, she was like, "What's that noise?" or something like that. And he's like, "That's the noise because the dingo ate our baby."
Yeah, I was like, oh. That's like the only time I like kind of shook my head during this book. I was like,
you got reminded why like people why you like Boomerang but don't like him at the same time.
Like him. Yeah, exactly.
You like him because he's a classic rogue, but then you don't like him because he opens his mouth.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that kind of the big reveal of the issue was Eclipso, because we kind of maybe for some people who didn't catch on to it, but we kind of knew that Eclipso was involved and probably coming at some point. So,
well, maybe the reveal was meant to be big for how he actually came.
Wow, yeah, because Maxwell Lord got screwed in this. Because he's dead, I'm pretty sure, right? Unless he transforms.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like he melted away and Eclipso came, so we're not going to probably see Max Lord again.
Nah, I don't think so. Because I'm pretty sure I think they might have pulled him out of the woodworks for this. I could definitely be wrong.
And to answer the question of Enchantress, she was taken out in issue 4. She was taken out by Maxwell Lord.
Okay.
No. She wasn't taken out by Maxwell Lord.
Yeah, I know Killer Frost was last issue. I feel we haven't seen Enchantress since like issue 3. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. No, it was 4. It was 4. It was the beginning of 4. I'm looking at it right now, and Maxwell Lord took her out. Yeah, he used his mind powers to switch back to June.
Oh, that's right.
He did something to her, and she freaked out. She passed out, and that's the last time we saw her.
Okay. So maybe she
passed out, and then somehow she got blasted by something. So we don't even know she's even alive anymore. Oh yeah. Okay. I see what happened. All right. Max Lord took her out, and then what was the one with the eye? Emerald. What was it?
Emerald Empress.
Emerald Empress, that's what it was. After she got taken out by Max Lord, Emerald Empress blasted one of the Green Lanterns, and right next to him was Enchantress, and Enchantress got hit too.
Okay. Huh. Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, then she was just laying there, and she looks like she was dead or something, but she was just laying there.
Maybe so. I'm thinking, because, I mean, it makes sense why they would kind of put her off to the side for now. because she easily could take down Maxwell Lord and Eclipso. So they're probably saving her for the big guns at the end of this.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Do you think she's gonna bust out like at the end? Because as far as we know right now, she's still in Belle Rev under rubble or in a collapsed room or something.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, we don't know if she even. Well, I mean, more than likely she survived this, but.
Oh yeah, they're not gonna kill her.
Yeah, but we don't know what happened to her yet. But we're back to Katana not having anything to do besides be paranoid and put her hand on her sword, like she's gonna chop off Cyborg's head.
Yeah, and then she didn't even go with them at the end.
No, she didn't.
No, she was not in the lineup at the end. Like you saw her at the beginning of the issue. Well, not even the beginning, like the midway point of the issue when they first met with Cyborg, and then you didn't see her after that.
Yeah, she's just been by Rick Flag's side this whole event. Not really.
Who also did not go.
Who also did not go. Yeah. It makes sense for Rick Flag because what's he really gonna do? But Katana, I mean, she could cut some limbs off. The Soul Taker, come on now, give her something.
Well, I mean, they did say that they were going to stay there and keep Cyborg contained.
Yeah, she's looking Rick Flag's puppet at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and that just does seem like that was just the way to sit her out of this fight.
Yeah. See what else. Then, well, Killer Croc at least got a moment. It was kind of a lame line. Just kind of not as bad as the BET line from the movie. But the only thing
when he said dibs on Aquaman.
Yeah, that's all he has to say in this.
I thought that was funny though. That part was funny.
It was okay.
Because in my head, I just pictured it. Like, yeah, we're about to go fight the Justice League. I got dibs on Aquaman. Just because the little banter they've been having the last few issues between Killer Croc and Aquaman.
Yeah, he's got some words with him. So
it wasn't hilarious funny, but it was funny to me. Like, yeah, of course, Croc, that's what you want is Aquaman.
Yeah, this is all setting up the final showdown. Yeah, it's been an okay event so far. I hate to compare it to Inhumans vs. X-Men, but I think with Inhumans vs. X-Men had Death of X to help lay some of that foundation.
Yeah.
And there wasn't, sort of a prequel for this event, which probably could have been cool.
And I think Inhumans vs. X-Men just seems bigger.
Yeah.
And the Death of X did help, but overall it just seems like much bigger and grander. I don't want to say there's not a lot at stake here, but it just seems like the way it's laid out and the way it reads and the way the story's been going, it just seems like there's more at stake in Humans vs. X-Men than there's been in Justice League vs. Suicide Squad.
Agree.
Even with him, like, essentially saying he has control of the country and next he's going to, gain control of the world and, eat the planet essentially and then move on and spread it. Like, even with that, like Inhumans X-Men feels bigger still.
Yeah, and this is, I feel, more of a, seems like more of a classic DC type event. And maybe that's what they were going. Maybe that's what they were just going for their first little event of the year.
Yeah, I'd definitely give them that. It does feel classic DC. Not taking away from it. Just because we just said that doesn't mean I'm taking away from it. It's still been really good. I've been enjoying it.
Yeah. Hopefully the art ends on a banger too. Because I like the art of this issue.
Well, they put everybody they could on this issue.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, that's crazy. What was it, like five inkers or 5 colors?
I think so. I think it was like 5 colors.
That's crazy.
Let's see. Anchors. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4 anchors. No, it was 4 anchors and 2 colors on this.
But yeah, Maxwell Lowe.
They're trying to make sure they can live up to what they've been trying to deliver.
Yeah. Yeah, Maxwell Lord definitely got the end of the stick here.
Oh yeah, especially when he realizes at the end, then that's it.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool when Eclipso, his voice started to come through when he was when Maxwell Lord was talking to Amanda Waller.
And then she's kind of like, "What did you just say?"
Yeah, she's like, "What did you say?" And then he goes back. I like that little touch. It came out of nowhere.
And then Amanda Waller smacked him around a little bit.
Yeah, her face looks a little funky on that page, that one page.
With, the one when she first looks out and sees everything.
Yeah, yep. Right underneath.
She's supposed to have that look of shock.
Yep, one more
Amanda
issue
Waller
left.
with the pimp hand.
Yeah, that was the back
That's
hand.
pimp hand.
The Waller hand.
He's like, smack.
What'd you say?
You need to get control of yourself. You need to calm down.
Right. That diamond's in your head.
Look what you did.
That's cool, though. Yeah, I look forward to see how this all ends and move forward from there.
Yeah, same here.
I might check out the Supergirl stuff to see what they bring to the table with the Emerald stuff. I'm sure it's probably going to be its own little arc.
Probably, which is why I agree. Like, I don't really anticipate all of the original Suicide Squad to pop up, because I think that when she went off, like you said, that's going to be a separate little arc.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and read, because I can't remember what exactly happened to all of them. Because I know Dr. Polaris got wiped off somewhere. I can't remember what happened to Johnny Sorrow.
Remember, he got sucked into the little vortex?
Oh, yeah, no. Hopefully
he got sucked into the vortex.
I do hope he comes back, because he was cool. I liked him. And he was the only one that knew that something was wrong with this timeline. And
yep.
And what's her name? Emerald.
Well, we know what happened to her, and then I don't. It didn't really show us per se what happened. I think he blew him out the wall, but he fought Cyborg, and Cyborg like reversed the polarity and blasted him. I think he blew him through the roof.
What's interesting too is that Saturn Girl is at Arkham.
Yeah, because that was the I Am Suicide. Was that the first issue when we saw her in Arkham?
Yeah. So Arkham will be coming into play at some point. I'm assuming, but I'm not sure. It's interesting that they're putting it with Supergirl.
They gotta do something with her.
Yeah, true. I haven't read any of the Rebirth stuff. I've heard mixed opinions about it.
I haven't read any of the Rebirth things either. I don't traditionally read Supergirl.
Same.
But I did read, like I read the Being Supergirl that they put out a couple weeks ago, and that was pretty good.
Was it? Nice.
But that seemed more like a restart point almost for Supergirl.
Sweet, cool. We got anything else for that one?
Nope, don't have anything else.
All right, we can move on. All right, so that brings us to Batman number 15, the end of the Rooftops arc. So this is part 2 of 2, written by Tom King and art by Mitch Gerards. So Catwoman leads Batman on a wild goose chase to find her after she escapes from him after they had their little lovemaking session. Batman tracks down Holly Robinson, only to have his throat cut. Cat finds Batman and takes him back to Wayne Manor to get him patched up. And while Bruce rests, Cat reveals the mystery of the 237 murders she is being sent to Blackgate for. And that pretty much, pretty, I think, accurate summary of the book. Would you say?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Obviously there's a few.
Oh yeah.
Things here and there that happen in the book, but that's pretty overall.
We'll touch on those.
Oh,
sure.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
First thing I will say because I want to hear your thoughts for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the lovey-dovey dialogue worked
Yes.
for me in this issue more. It felt more natural. It either could have been that, or maybe I'm just used to it, but it didn't seem too overplayed in this issue for me. But what did you think of? Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I definitely think it was more natural, and I don't think that it's because you become used to it. It's because it was weird at first because it involved Batman, and you don't normally see Batman, have that kind of dialogue with any. You don't really see Batman talk about his emotions at all, or express any kind of, emotions that aren't anger related. And that would be every now and again when he might, explode on something somebody said.
Right.
But so that it was weird. And now that they've already had their rooftop moment, as you said, they had their little love making session on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sunken into you, like, well, Batman has dropped his guard. He does have a human side.
Right.
Let's see that human side. So now after that's already happened, now you're ready to actually see the next logical step. And I think the dialogue captures that.
And Tom King's really good at like working on or striking like emotional chords within characters. At least what I've seen in a little bit of Sheriff of Babylon, but a lot in the Vision book that he did. But yeah, that worked pretty well for me overall. What were your thoughts on this?
Well, as you know, I liked the last issue, 14. Like, I loved 14, and I love 15. I think it was funny as they're sitting on a rooftop and you're kind of like arguing over how they met.
Yes, I thought that was really cool. I wanted to try and look it up to see if that was the flashbacks that they were doing, if that was from original prints, but they just like changed it up a little bit in this issue. But yeah, I thought that was really cool.
From what I know, that's exactly what it was. They used probably the original panels and everything, but they're from all the different times. So you see the 40s Batman, and then you see the Frank Miller Year One Batman, and you see all the different versions that they've told of how they met. I think it's kind of funny that they played with that. Like, well, comic book wise, there's been like 4 or 5 stories about when he first met Catwoman. So they don't really know, and like Batman and Catwoman can't really agree on how they first met because they're both telling, stories from all these other stories of how they first met.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they're telling the 40s, and they're telling the 70s, and then they're telling the 80s and the 90s, and they're telling all these different origin stories of how they met, and they're both like, well, no, that's not how it happened. It happened this way. So I thought that was kind of funny, and like you said, they kind of updated those panels probably from those different eras.
Yeah.
They still made them look like they came from those specific stories, but they kind of, touched them up a little bit.
Yeah, because the Batman cowl is pretty close to the cowl in the regular artwork, which is cool. I like that. No, that was pretty solid.
So I love that little moment, and then of course the big moment was when she told Batman that she loved him.
That was a big moment, and then he
kind of made this face, and I was like, he can't say it, and then he said that he loved her, and it's like then he made a face like, you don't know how much that took for me to say.
Right.
And then she smiles, and he kind of looks at her, and then he smiles, and it's like, oh my goodness, Batman is smiling, like that's a genuine smile.
Yeah, despite wanting to get back to the main story, this is an interesting arc, and yeah, I figured Tom King would. He always seems to pull through one way or another. So I like this issue a little bit more than the last issue. I think it's because of the dialogue was a little bit more natural, and excuse me, some of the fan service that he was throwing in. Excuse me, some of the fan service that he was throwing in here was pretty good. And then
you also finally got we both got our answers when we found Holly Robinson.
Yes.
And that was something that had been bothering us since the beginning of the I Am Suicide arc when the first initial part of it ended with 13, we were kind of like, well, they never really touched on it, and we knew for a fact that they were going to touch on it, and Batman was going to do his detective skills and find out who actually committed those murders and why it is Catwoman was taking the blame for it.
Yeah, I love the detective work when he went to see Jim Gordon, and when we see Jim Gordon, he's like talking to himself in the mirror, like how he needs to stop smoking, and then Batman scares the shit out of him.
He's like, I smoked too much, and he stopped smoking when he died. He was like, you come home late, go to bed at 4:00 in the morning, wake up 3 hours later, start smoking. he's brushing his teeth, and then Batman is like slowly creeps in.
Yeah, that was a good moment. Good moment in this book. I haven't seen Jim Gordon in a while.
The only thing that would have made that moment even better for me was if once he realized Batman was there and he got shocked, if he'd just been like, how long were you standing there?
Right.
Long enough, Jim.
Then he does his classic disappear act when Jim's on the phone talking to Harvey.
And he's like, yeah, go as fast as you can. Matter of fact, go even faster than you can.
Right. Well, let's back it up just a little bit, because right before that, Catwoman runs away or escapes from his sight. And I thought that panel was really cool when he's yelling "cat" and he's like pulling his cowl down, like she caught him like off guard.
Yeah, because she caught him as they were getting dressed.
Yep. And she dips out and disappears. And then the art was really good in this book, like really good when Batman's gliding as the sun's rising.
Yeah, you see like it's the sun's rising. You can kind of see where it's still a little night, and kind of see the lights a little bit.
The fog.
And yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was pretty solid.
And then we get the reveal that Harley, who was the person's name she used for the apartment where she hid those diamonds at, was someone she grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was interesting when she told the little backstory after she cut Batman's throat. When she was telling the backstory of who Harley is and why it was that she was willing to take that rap for her.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting to see that she essentially tried to do with Harley what Batman did with Jason Todd.
Jason Todd, yeah. That's true.
Because the big thing with Jason Todd was he wanted to focus Jason Todd's anger because he saw that Jason had potential to go either way.
That's a good point.
He didn't want him to go the wrong way.
The wrong way, yeah. And we get another emotional.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, we get another emotional chord struck with Batman when he's talking to Holly at her apartment. And he's like,
"Oh yeah,
yeah." She's like, she's the only one who understands. And he kind of pauses and he understands what she knows who I am, what I am, and she loves me anyways. I was like, damn, Batman, showing your love.
And then for a minute, like you think that Holly's actually going to do the right thing. She pulls that blade out and slice.
Yeah, I knew something was about to go wrong when I saw her going into the drawer. I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. But he draws. Yeah, and she draws a lot of blood for him to have that little patch on his neck at the end. Little nitpick, but I thought that was funny.
Well, I mean, it was a small blade, so. You probably cut deep, but probably wasn't a very big cut.
Yeah, true. Then
and then he barely makes it out the window, and then who comes in to help him? Catwoman.
I thought that was pretty cool. He's like on the fire escape and tries to jump. It's like, oh boy, it just falls down. Yeah. So it looks like he at least made it onto the roof. No.
Yeah, because he was able to shoot the grapple hook. And it looked like he was getting up there, but he was.
Now that I look at
it. No, you're right. That wasn't a grapple hook. That was Catwoman throwing the whip. You're right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh no.
He made it. He made it to the fire escape, and he was getting ready to jump and probably throw the grapple hook, and he just dropped. And that's when she swooped in and saved him, and then took him back to Alfred and patched him up, told a little story, and told Alfred to relay the message to him.
Yeah, the first time I read it, I actually thought that was a grappling hook too, but now that I'm re-looking at it, yeah, it is Catwoman.
Yeah, which makes it even better.
Yeah, And he's like, at the end, it's like she stole the night from him. I was like, yeah, she did. Because I mean, she got Harley passport. I believe it was it was a passport to with a new name, Catherine. Was it Catherine Turley? Is her new name right now. So she got Holly Robinson out of the country, or at least out of the state, at least.
For now.
Yeah, for now. And now Catwoman's technically a fugitive still. She's dipped out. Let's see, we don't know when and where she'll come back into the fold of things. But Batman was a little butthurt.
Of course he was, because he knew she was innocent. He could prove it. He could free her. He got someone who loved him. He's thinking like, I'll turn Harley in, and Catwoman will be off the line. We can be together. Nope, not happening just yet, Bats.
Not yet. Let's get through the I'm Bane arc and see what happens from there.
But of course, as I was saying, I think it's funny because from what I was saying when we started the I'm Suicide arc from the beginning about Catwoman, it's like every step of the way, except for the middle part of that arc when we thought she killed everybody.
Yeah.
But everything pretty much in that arc, especially with this, kind of is leaving that door open. Because now we know who it was who killed all those people. Batman knows who she is. He's a detective. He can do some kind of facial recognition or something to find out that she left. He'll find out where she went.
Where she went at. Yeah, with this detective work. I hope so, at least.
He'll hopefully reason with Catwoman and explain to her why, she has to go down.
Yeah, hopefully, that'd be cool if they touch back on this after the I Am Bane. Maybe Catwoman will be somewhat part of the next arc that they do. I'd like to see more Cat and Batman.
I kind of feel like they have to touch back on this. Like, if not a little bit in the I Am Bane arc and whatever comes after that, like I feel like they need to touch back on this.
Yeah, because she got away with a quote unquote murder, so everyone's after her now.
Yeah, so they need to touch. There's too much potential in this not to touch on it.
And now that I think about it too, like Blackgate, they're gonna want to give Batman a lot of shit, so he's probably gonna want to try to correct this as soon as possible.
Yeah, like we trusted you with one of our inmates, one of our, highest priority inmates, and you didn't bring her back.
Nope. You got some, and you let her play you. Essentially, she played Batman as always. And what she does, she played Batman again, and dipped out.
You know what? I think she played him because of that night they shared with each other. I think she realized that night where she was like, I can't go back. So if I go back, we can never have this again.
Right. True. That's very true.
Because I'm not going to give up willingly. I'm not going to willingly give up who did it. But if I go back, it's not going to happen.
That's a good point.
Because she knew that he would be there, so she knew that based off of what she had told him, that he would figure out who Harley was and track her down.
Yeah, he would have figured it out for sure.
Yeah, so she knew that. And I took it as the passport was gotten for her beforehand. I thought Harley had it beforehand.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, she probably didn't get it overnight.
Yeah, it wasn't overnight. That was set up well in advance.
True. Oh yeah. So yeah, I think it was pretty quick read. But it was an interesting read. Overall,
quick read, interesting. I thought it had some powerful stuff in it. Like, definitely, I like the I Am Suicide arc, but I really do like the Rooftops arc.
What would you give this? What would you give this arc?
What would I give it?
Yeah.
On what kind of scale?
Out of 10.
Out of 10? I would actually give this maybe a 9.
Oh wow! Okay.
The only thing that would have gave it a 10 for me would have been the ending being a little different would have been actually having Harley turned in, clearing Selina's name, and then maybe Batman and Catwoman trying to figure out where they're going to go from here.
Go from there. That'd been cool.
Not necessarily ending with them definitely going to be together, and they're on the path to getting married or anything like that, and she's going to be Damien's stepmom, but just have that open to where it's like, well, she understands why he did it. Like, I tried to save her. Maybe he could equate it to like Jason Todd. Like maybe he could have used that to kind of let her know, like, it's not your fault. Some people just go that way no matter what kind of help they get.
Right on. Yeah, I wouldn't go as high as you, but I'm not going to go as low either. I would say I'd give it an 8. Actually, I would say 7.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
This second issue was pretty redeemable for me. Actually, I'm going to give it an 8 because the second issue was all right. But I am ready to get back to the main story.
I just like the what it laid down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, since we did the first issue of I Am Suicide, like, if you remember, that's what I was screaming the whole time. Like, you need to stop with this whole, Bat Cat, she's a burglar, and all this other stuff, and just bring her into the fold. And this left the chance for that. The
chance of that definitely coming back into the play at some point.
Yeah, and to me, we kind of saw that they'd be an awesome team together in the last issue.
Oh, for sure.
And then in this issue, we got to see not just like teaming up and fighting wise, but how they would probably be together emotionally.
Emotionally, yep.
I think this was more of an emotional issue.
Tom King is good at that.
Yeah, he did. He got me with this one.
Cool. You got anything else for this one?
Nope.
Same here. We can move on. So that brings us to Generation Zero, number 6, written by Fred Valenti, pencils by Francis Portela, and I should also mention the color artist, I believe, is Andrew Dahlhaus, but let me just check. Sometimes they don't put it in there, but well, at least the digital copies. But yeah, color artist by Andrew Dahlhaus and David Barden. So Rook, Michigan is on lockdown while the police search for Generation Zero. As the team regroups at Keisha's home, they decide to enter Animalia's Heroescape in order to travel through her conscious to find the tower where Katie Zygos and Kwame have been kidnapped and taken to. So that's pretty much a quick summary of kind of just what happened in this. Man, they're dragging things out in this substantially.
Yes, they are.
We got one thing answered, which is cool about the, just kind of throwing in there real quick when, they explained how, Kronos healed, Telek and Animalia. Did you notice that?
What you were curious about.
Yeah, because they didn't really show us that in the previous issue, or they kind of just mentioned it in this to get it out of the way. Maybe he changed it real quick because everyone was saying, like, Kronos could have just fixed her. So he probably just threw it in there to, not fan service.
Maybe he heard your rant about that.
Maybe. But I'm sure plus other people more important than me. But yeah, so start of the issue, they go to that drugstore, and I always forget how you pronounce her name. Gametti, I believe. She uses her psych power to enter the clerk. That way they can figure out where all the medicine is that they need to head back. And there's seems to be a lot of tension between Jason and who's the councilman, I believe, and Keisha's father. And they had mentioned something about a Fallujah incident that they were both a part of. So that's another plot opened up, and to maybe touch back on at some point. It kind of seemed like it was
probably about 4 issues down the line or touch back on it.
Yeah, I'm really hoping after this, I'm sure maybe 12 issues will wrap everything up. I really hope it makes sense. What did you think of this?
Well, first of all, it did not start any way remotely close to where I thought it was, because the last issue they were outside the tower. They were all surprised that nobody had noticed that giant tower.
Yeah, no one did.
And yeah, so I was expecting it to either pick back up there or go more into the tower, and it really didn't. They did explain, however, though, that everybody can't see the tower, that there are some adults in the town that can't see the tower, younger kids can't see the tower, and that the Momo juice is given to the teenagers because their brain patterns are different than adults and children.
Yeah, they're slightly aware of it, but yeah, with the Moo it's used to
so
block
they give them that so that they won't really notice it. But I thought it was interesting because remember before we were thinking that all the adults knew the tower was there.
Yeah, that's what we thought. Mm-hmm.
And now we find out, like, no, it's not all the adults. Some of them know, and most of them don't know it's there.
So it makes me think, I mean, it seems like the cornermen are a bigger issue at this point, and the town at Rook, the town itself, Rook, has kind of taken a back seat because now that we've learned that since adults aren't aware of that tower either, why are the cornermen here? Like, what is their purpose? So it keeps giving me more questions as the series goes on. I'm not losing faith in it, but I really hope that it wraps up nicely with everything they're doing.
I also like the tension with the father.
That was good.
But more importantly, I like when they go to the what was it, the mental plane, her mental plane, where they were seeing how she sees the world.
Oh, Animalia's Hero Escape?
Yeah.
Yeah, the art took a change for me. It reminded me of like I was watching a Saturday morning cartoon, like Doug or something.
Yeah, and they commented on that because remember she said she's into anime and stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything had like an anime look to it.
Yeah, and then she
appears.
A
cartoony anime look to it, but still.
Yeah, it wasn't the same as the last art that we saw on the Hero Escape.
Yeah, that was like was that 3?
3, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, but I just think it's interesting that, depending on that when they do that, how the art changes. Like, I like that aspect to this.
No, I agree.
And like you said, it wasn't anything like, because when they said they were getting ready to go, I was kind of expecting similar art from the last time, and then it just was dramatically different.
But yeah, more questions. There was some cool, like, Valiant Mythos stuff that was kind of mentioned. Is when they were talking, and she mentioned about the long shot. She was like, regeneration long shot, because they've been through a lot. They were made as kids, and they've been in not hibernation, but isolation, growing these powers, and they were used as weapons when they were kids. So they broke away from that whole Harbinger War arc. So it was cool to see some of that stuff sprinkled in there.
They also mentioned the Harbingers too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, well, you gotta remember, I'm not really a Valiant guy. I'm learning from doing the show with you,
mm-hmm.
and you've talked so many times about the Harbingers and the Harbinger War and everything. So when I saw that, I kind of was like, okay, I kind of know what that is now.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it now. Because I mentioned Project Rising Spirit. That's the company that kind of created them and used them as a weapon, and then the Harbingers kind of rescued them. I still need to finish all of Harbinger Wars, but I got the reference about the Project Rising Spirit, and I had an idea of how they escaped from Harbinger Foundation. But some cool...
I find myself trying to get into Generation Zero every issue we do,
mm-hmm.
and I kind of like it, but my biggest frustration is anybody who heard us last time we talked about the last issue and heard this conversation so far, you keep hearing us say another plot opened, or it just, for me, there's too many plots being opened.
Yeah.
and not enough payoff on all the plots being opened.
Because we're 6 issues in now.
Yeah, and every issue they open like another 2 or 3 plots.
Yeah.
Now it could be the case, like I said last episode, where they're going to get to the end of this arc, and whatever the giant answer is going to answer everything, which would make all the plots pay off at one time.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
I think that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, the longer you drag it on, hopefully you don't make open too many plots, and then you have several plot holes that you can't tie up nicely.
Yeah, because personally, I felt that they had enough once they introduced the tower. I feel like once that tower was introduced, you had more than enough plots already opened up.
Yeah, move forward and close some of these things up.
And that tower was a huge reveal, and that should have took like priority over everything. You shouldn't have opened anything else. Don't ask any more questions about anything. Let's answer some more of these questions. Let's let them get to the tower and get in there. And then you could have started opening up new plot points if you already answered some of the previous ones. Wait until they get into the tower and let them find something in there that opens up more plot.
Yeah, and the issue ends with them entering... Because it's kind of cool how they entered... originally they entered Animalia's consciousness, and then Cloud was able to... She mentioned like something about the collective consciousness as a whole, and they're able to enter... different consciences, I can't even say the word, to find out where the tower was in the hero escape. So it's kind of cool how they did that. So hopefully the focus of the next issue will be them in the tower, like dedicate the issue to the tower, and then let's get back to Roke, Michigan, and pick up from there. Let's answer a few questions about this tower. You don't have to wrap it up, but yeah, just something to hold us over while we get through all this. There's a lot of story going on. Did I lose you?
Oh no, I'm still here. I'm just like you said. There's a lot of story here. I'm just thinking like what they could do in the tower.
Right.
Because maybe they can go into the tower and it turns out, oh, well, we have to go back to this previous plot point to get the information we need. Then they can go to that plot point, close it, and then be led to another plot point. Like maybe that's what it is. Maybe the tower is going to send them back to these other plot points to get the full spectrum of what everything means.
True. Yeah, looking at the cover for the next issue, looks like they're driving up to the cornerman with the pterodactyl on the hood of the Riff. So, escape for the hero escape, it says.
Yeah, I just want answers.
Yeah.
I don't need any more plot points. I just need answers now. Start answering stuff.
I'm losing a little bit of momentum right now with this book. Just a little bit. I trust in the team to hopefully pull this off, so... But the art's been great, at least, throughout the whole book.
Yeah, art was pretty good. Both the regular art and then the Heroescape art. Yeah,
there was that one touching little moment when Cronus didn't really want to enter Animalia, and he's like, hoo-ha, you can still fight this war, but he's not too excited to have her being used as a weapon again. Because essentially, yeah, she's kind of being used as a weapon right now. She's unconscious, not knowing what's going on. But yeah, we will see what happens. But yeah, you got anything else for this one, really?
Nope, don't have anything else.
Yeah, we will. I wish we had more to talk about. Seems like the last two issues we talked about, relatively quick, and we're just like, hey, there's more plots being open and less answers. 6 issues in.
Yeah, it just seems like we just keep going, hey, there's more plot.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, let's move on to our next book.
Alright. I guess that brings us to our next book then, which is going to be Harley Quinn number 12, which features Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor as writers, John Timms as artist, and Chad Hardin as dream artist, which is there's a dream sequence on pages 8 and 10. And hi-fi colors are done by Dave Sharp. We essentially pick back up at the end where the last issue. Well, we don't pick right up there. We see some cargo being brought into New York by the mayor's new assistant.
Yeah.
And it looks like this cargo is a group of possibly vampires, and they're being told that they'll be staying in New York City. Then we pick up with Harley finding out that her alarm clock was actually turned off, and then we get the interaction between Joker and Red Tool with a pretty interesting argument that ends in a fight that the Joker refuses to partake in. Then we also get to see some interesting dream sequences from the Joker.
Yeah.
And while all that is going on, Harley decides she needs to get up and hurry up and get dressed and get down there. Where she actually saves Joker, and then decides to take him back to her place, zip tie him, and as a punishment, she straps him to a wheelchair and puts him in the middle of Brooklyn with a sign that says "Brooklyn sucks," and lets everybody take turns hitting him with a car. After which, she decides to take him back to her place once again, where she says she's going to put an end to this for good. And that brings us to the end of Harley Quinn number 12. What were your opinions on this issue? I know you said you didn't have too many opinions, but what did you feel?
Another slow burn, kind of like Generation Zero. Not that there was a bunch of plots opened up for this. We just got a little bit more of the argument between Red Tool and Joker and him beating the shit out of him, which I thought was funny. The Dreamland.
It was funny.
Yeah, the Dreamland stuff was interesting because that was when Red Tool, kind of knocked him into Dreamland, and we're seeing the dream that he wants to be with Harley, in a normal relationship, but at the same time he's still thinking about all the nightmares of him, being abusive to her, throwing her at Batman as he's getting away. He's punching her at one point. So the Dreamland stuff was interesting. The Brooklyn sucks. I thought that it was a nice little thing, and her just torching the fuck out of him. But yeah, not much to the issue. Kind of planting seeds, which might lead to a interruption of the vampires that are being more involved. Because I think we actually might see more of the vampires next issue. And maybe possibly Red Tool, Joker, and Harley may team up for that. It's one of my theories.
I would accept that theory. That seems like a very plausible theory. I personally thought that the conversation between Red Tool and Joker was pretty funny, because Joker was, kind of dismissing him again, and then he realizes, like, you have a thing for her, don't you? It's obvious that you have a thing for Harley. And, he's like, what was interesting is that the Joker said that, he's not going to, what are you going to say?
I was going to say that part a little bit was kind of a rehash, I thought, from the previous issue, because he had mentioned that before, that he kind of caught on that he, I guess it was touched on more in this, but it was touched on briefly in the previous issue.
Well, I like how they touched on it better in this issue.
Yeah, they did more of it.
Because he goes more in depth. He's like, why isn't she here? Why are you here? Like, she wouldn't send you. There's no way in the world she'd let anybody talk for her. And he's going through all these scenarios like, what did you do? Did you drug her? Is that what you do? You drug girls? And
Harley was pissed at him.
Oh yeah, when she finally got there, she was like, what are you gonna do next? Chew my food for me?
Right.
But I thought it was interesting because the Joker refused to fight back. He's like, I'm not going to fight back. Do whatever you're going to do.
Right.
I'm not here for that. I'm not here for any of that. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to waste my time with you. Like, I'm here to talk to Harley.
I like that aspect of it.
And then the dream, as you said, the dream, where it's the contrast between because he says later in the issue he had time to sit and think about everything. But then you see the contrast between what you call the nightmare, which is perfect, and what it is he actually realizes he wants from Harley.
The art was really cool.
Oh yeah, the art was the best in the dream sequence.
When I saw the old school animated version of Harley drawn like this, I was like, that's awesome.
What's funny is one of those scenes specifically, two of the scenes, now that I think about it, that whole 4 panels of this are from the animated TV show.
Now that you say that, I can see one of them when Batman's hanging chained up.
They're all from the same episode as the one where Harley kidnapped Batman because Joker had a plan where he wanted Batman to be killed by piranhas. But the problem was piranhas don't smile. They're like the only fish that his Joker toxin doesn't work on. And she figured out a weird way to make it work. And when Joker came in and found out, he was mad. He smacked her around and hit her with a fish.
Okay. Yeah, because
that was directly taken from the show.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I know you know more about Harley than me. So with the other Dreamland stuff, was that from previous arcs, you think? Or that you know of?
One of them, I know for a fact was. I think they changed it just a little bit. One of those is from when she was in Arkham. I believe the last time that when she went and actually fought the Joker in Arkham.
Okay.
And I believe the one where she's in the nightgown. It made me think it might be also from the animated series from that same episode. There's a scene where she has a nightgown on and she's in like she's asking him if he wants to ride his Harley or something like that.
As he would.
But the other stuff though, the not nightmare dreams that he's having, where he's dreaming of actually, having an actual regular wedding with her, and he's dreaming about
the kids,
them having a house with a pool, and he's cleaning the pool, and the kids, and them being intimate and just loving each other. Like, that is interesting to see that the Joker even has those kind of thoughts possible in his head. Because all this time, everyone's pretty much agreed that the Joker can't possibly have those kind of feelings because he's not anywhere near like a regular person.
Right.
And this all shows that he's juggling between, obviously, probably the accident that turned him into the Joker, which is what is pretty much believed drove him insane. But it shows that somewhere inside of him, there is a part of him that even though he's who he is, he realizes, at least now, he realizes the value of having somebody else.
Yeah,
even if it's just one other person who gets you. It seems like that's what he's getting, and he said he sat in his cell and thought about it. So after thinking, he's realized, like, as of right now in this issue, it seems like the Joker really does love Harley. But it just took him a whole lot of stuff to realize that he did.
Yeah, and I don't think Harley's having it. Like, I don't think she wants anything to do with him. And in a way, I kind of see, if they end up teaming up to take down these vampires, because they're kind of setting that up, at least setting up the whole vampires thing, because they're finally in Brooklyn now, and more than likely we'll see them next issue. But I think if they end up teaming up, take down the vampires, I think Harley will end up still sending Joker away. I don't see him sticking around. I'm calling it now. Boom.
I as of right now, I can see her saying that. He did make a very good point though, where he has when they're having a conversation before the Brooklyn incident, where he's like talking about people being able to change.
Yeah. And
he makes the comment like, you're a psychologist. Like, isn't that what psychology is based on? Like, through understanding and positive reinforcements and all this other stuff and everything, people are actually able to change and become different.
Yeah, I think I still see things going awry in some way or another, especially with Red Tool around. He ain't having it.
I'm just guessing and thinking with the fact that I know that there's 3 Jokers running around. In my mind, they can afford to make one of these Jokers a little softer.
Yeah, maybe I think he'll remain soft.
It'd be something we haven't seen before. And it'd be because it's been interesting to see Harley Quinn play this whole anti-hero thing. but I think it would be a new dynamic, kind of like with Batman, like what they did with Catwoman. Like they're kind of changing her up a little bit. I think it'd be interesting to change a version of the Joker up a little bit and have some kind of crazy Joker Harley ongoing series. Where it's like maybe they decide to say what?
I was just going to say, I could see him doing like a mini series or something.
Yeah, because they did the Gang of Harleys. Her little gang she made had a series, and then when she teamed up with Power Girl, there was a Harley Quinn Power Girl series. I could see there being a Harley Quinn Joker series.
Well, we probably shouldn't get too ahead of ourselves with all the price increases. With all the price increases and all these other events coming up.
Yeah, we shouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But to go back to what you said about the vampires, I think that's correct, because if you look, when this scene ends and the comic ends and they're talking about taking them back to her place, it's getting dark.
That's very true. Did not pick up on that.
So my guess is that they're probably not going to even make it out of Brooklyn before the vampires try to get them.
No. But yeah, it's a Harley book.
I'm definitely interested to see where this goes from here.
I still don't like the way Joker looks. Normally, it looks weird.
I think they did him a little bit better in this issue than in the last issue. It's still a similar design.
It's very cartoony.
Which is another reason that makes me think about this whole Three Jokers thing, because he, with his chin and everything, he resembles the traditional Joker everyone normally thinks of, with the long chin and the pointy nose.
Maybe he's the OG.
Yeah, OG Joker, which is the one I said they should give to Harley. They should give her the OG Joker, and then let the other two just be the insane, crazy, running around doing unbelievable stuff Jokers.
Yeah. I'm really surprised that they haven't... Well, give it like about a week. They're going to announce a Batman Joker miniseries coming in like summer.
Probably.
They're probably going to get past this whole... Well, maybe it'll end up being after this whole Watchmen thing that they're trying to do. They're set the universe... Maybe even throw a little Joker thing in there to lead you into the upcoming post Rebirth titles.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be $5.99, written by Scott Snyder with 5 backups.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Man, I still can't get over that price thing, because I haven't even thought about it until after I put the notes in, and then since we started talking about it.
And then it hits you bam. $5.99. Well, not $5.99, but $3.99.
And not even to go back to that, because I buy all the Young Animal books, at least all of them right now. Mother Panic might be...
Have fun with that.
Yeah, Mother Panic might go away at some point. But yeah, plus getting all the Young Animal, plus my Batman, Titans, Teen Titans, that adds up. Luckily, everything comes out every other week, but still...
Plus any book we may do on the show.
Yeah, unless sometimes I don't have to pay for those, but I should sometimes. But I like to read books. That's a whole other topic. But I like to read books first before going out and getting them, especially with the price hike. Oof, kidding me. But we already touched on that though. But yeah, you got anything else for Harley Quinn?
Nope. Interesting turn of events. I actually kind of like where this went.
Yeah, I like where it went.
I got more joke. Say that again.
I like where it went too. I like that they sprinkled a little bit more of the mayor stuff, kind of getting us set up to whatever that whole deal is going to be.
I feel they did the mayor stuff like they should have did in the last issue, where it should have been in there just a little bit,
and right at the front,
and then focus more the story on the fact that Joker and Harley, because that is the name of the arc, is Joker loves Harley.
Right. Yeah, they're just planting seeds at this point, just to... So I wonder how long this arc will be.
I don't know, because the next one is something different. It's, at least the name of it is something different. It's not going to be Joker Loves Harley. It's The Land of Fake Believe.
Maybe it'll touch more on their relationship, I imagine. Kind of sounds like.
It's going to have to.
Yeah.
Joker's still there.
But yeah, I actually can say that I'm actually excited to read the next Harley, to kind of see how this all plays out with the vampires and Joker and Red Tool and Harley herself.
Yeah, well, there could be a chance we don't even see Red Tool because he's on a 30-day suspension.
That's very, yeah, she got rid of him.
She was like, you are on a 30-day suspension, and when you come back, you better have a very good apology for me.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Like, instead of like first I thought she was going to say like a 1,000 word essay on this and that, but she went the other route. I thought that was good. Overall, it was a fun issue for me. I'm not like the biggest Harley fan, but this I'm enjoying this arc at least.
I am too, especially this one. Like I said, the Dream Sequence really did a lot for me, especially with some of the stuff I've been saying about what they should do or what could happen with the Joker.
Yeah, it's nice that there's literally like two plots. They got the vampire and Joker.
Yep.
So it's like you can't go wrong, or can't really mess it. I mean, you can mess it up, but can't really mess it up.
Oh, you can mess any plot up. Any plot can be messed up.
Yeah, very true. Did you hear? I forgot to mention. Did you hear that Paul Dini is going to be doing backups in the upcoming? I think it come April as well. I think he's going to be doing backups in the Harley books.
You said who is?
Paul Dini.
Oh, the way you said it, and I thought you said Call of Duty. I'm like, no, don't put Call of Duty in the back of no comic. No, I did not hear that.
That's when you know DC is struggling.
DC now features backups by Call of Duty.
Yeah, let's not ever see that day. But no, that'll be cool. We'll get a lot of more animated Harley.
Yeah. Be awesome.
Yes, indeed. Cool. Let's move on to the psychedelic book. So that brings us then to Cave Carson has a Cybernetic Eye #4, written by John Rivera, story by Gerard Way and John Rivera, and cover and interior art by Michael Avon Oming. Cave, Chloe, and Wild Dog begin their adventure at Moldrog and begin to look into the massacre which occurred there. Chloe accidentally releases a gas which causes Cave and Wild Dog to have a nightmarish hallucination. And Chloe finally shuts the door to end the hallucinations that they're having. But it's interesting because Chloe did not have any hallucinations, which I'll touch on later. But there, the team is tracked down by the mold team sent to bring Cave Carson back to EBX. The commotion catches the cave dwellers' attention, and they attack the group, killing a couple people. That gives Cave, Chloe, and Wild Dog a chance to escape in their mold unit. And after escaping, the team cross paths with Shaw Moldrog members, and they are taken to his deceased wife's mother and father. And there the issue ends with us seeing a mutated mushroom riddled body plotting to take over the world. Did you get a chance to read the previous ones before reading #4? Because I know this is a jumping on point for you.
No, I did not. This was the first time I've ever read Cave Carson has a cybernetic eye.
Word. Yeah, this one, the last issue was like pretty ramped up. There's a lot of action. I didn't expect it to be kind of there. Some of the plot wasn't really touched on too much. The story didn't move forward. It was kind of at a standstill. We met, his widow's parents, but yeah, overall, I expected a fast pace after the last issue. The whole mushroom guy. He was the villain in he pretty much did the same thing in the last issue, but we didn't see him in this like mushroom form that he's in. But overall, and Wild Dog was a badass in the last issue. And there's a lot of action. But Wild Dog, he went from shooting up a bunch of alien monsters to almost shooting himself after having that hallucination. But you said you liked the art, though. I remember because I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about it before we talked about it.
Yeah, the art was pretty cool. It didn't stun me. didn't wow me, but it was cool. It had a fun feel to it.
Yeah, I think if you would have read 1, 2, and 3, you probably had the same feeling as me if you would have read all those, because this is kind of a step back, because I thought it was like ramping up on the last third issue. So I expected, like I said, a little bit more of a plot touched on. But yeah, I love looking at the art. It almost reminds me of like a version of Venture Brothers. If you ever
I was about to say Johnny Quest.
Yeah, Johnny Quest, Venture Brothers.
But Venture Brothers was a rip on Johnny Quest, pretty much.
True.
For the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I liked it, was because it reminded me of Johnny Quest / Venture Brothers.
Yeah. I like seeing Wild Dog in here. I know you watch the Arrow show, don't you?
Yeah, and Wild Dog is definitely not one of my favorite characters on the show. So when I saw Wild Dog in here, I was kind of automatically connected to the TV show. Because in the TV show, he's pretty much a jerk who doesn't listen.
Gotcha.
And at times causes more problems than need to be caused.
Yeah, I thought it was cool that they added him in the show, but I still haven't caught up on that yet.
Yeah, I once you catch up, I would love to hear your opinion to see if he more lines up to how he is in the comic, if they're portraying him correctly on the show.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with him, like a lot of his backstory. But this one seems like, especially since I've seen him in the first 3 issues prior to this, he's been more kind of a badass. He kind of causes problems, I should say. But yeah, I was wondering how he compared to the show.
Is he a little bit more the one who wants to just jump right into action?
Yeah, yep.
Like, forget coming up with a plan. The plan is we're just going to go in there shooting.
Like the last issue, they were trying to save his daughter. They were trying to get her out of the car that she was in. And to persuade her to stop driving and, jump into Wild Dog's hand, he threw a C4 in the car. And that actually made her get out and jump into the mole.
Okay, yeah. If the one on the TV show had access to C4, that seems almost like something he might just do.
But yeah, I still like this issue, and it was kind of just a little bit of a setback for me. I expected a little bit more. I enjoyed when they got berated by the aliens. Those things remind me of something out of Riddick, like the first Riddick movie.
Yeah,
a little creepier.
Well, I'm gonna say, if I had to judge this, which I do, as my jumping on point, this wasn't an issue that would make me want to really stick around and invest into the story.
Yeah, I agree with you. If this is my jumping on point, I would be intrigued by the art, but I would probably be confused. And it's like,
yeah, like I said, the art was good for me, but it wasn't enough. I need story too.
Yeah.
I can honestly overlook bad art if I like the story, but I can't overlook bad story if I like the art.
No, and this issue was touching on a lot from the previous ones, like the mole unit showing up, because EBX believes, well, not everyone believes that Cave Carson's gone mad, but the guy the mushroom guy who's involved with his son is part of EBX, and they think they're telling everyone that Cave's gone mad, even though he hasn't. He's finding out that EBX is up to something.
Yeah, the only 2 things that I found interesting were the hallucination, when they were talking about that they all were seeing different things.
Mm-hmm.
And the reveal at the end, like they were like, who were those people? And he's like, essentially, like you said, those are his. Now I know for a fact. I thought so by the book that she was dead, but his dead wife's parents.
Yeah, because she shows up later. Yeah.
Yeah, those were kind of interested, but they weren't interested enough for me to be like, man, honestly, I gotta see what happens in the next issue.
Yeah, and honestly, they haven't really touched on his wife that much. Like, pretty much what you saw in this, they amped it up a little bit by showing more of her in the hallucination, but it's kind of been the same story with her right now. There's something else I was going to say. They've used a little bit more of his cybernetic eye, but not a lot yet. They don't really mention it. They kind of just show it to you by way of art. But yeah, something I'm gonna keep following. Still one of my top 3 DC Young Animal titles right now. But after, it's funny because like every week, I'm sure I'd have to go back and listen, but I'm sure my Young Animal titles have changed, like my top 3. But it's because like we get issues like this where it's slow, and then we get another issue where I'm like, oh, this is awesome, so I move it up, and then I always move it back. This is one of those.
It's understandable.
Yeah. Mother Panic, unfortunately, is number 4 right now. Let's see where that one goes.
Yeah, well, we've read a few of the Young Animals on the show, and I think if I had to pick one, I think as of right now, Mother Panic's probably my favorite.
Okay.
Followed by Doom Patrol.
Nice. But yeah, you should definitely go back and read the first 3 issues. I think you really like it. And while this one was a slow, kind of I don't want to say filler, but a little bit of a slow burn. I do like because if you've been following it, he's kind of been on an emotional ride since his wife passed away, and we didn't know much of her. So we're slowly learning about her and her family and the Shah Muldrog, which I thought it was cool to see his parents, or her parents, I should say Chloe's grandparents as well. So Cape Carson's kind of down and out.
Understandable.
With that fucking mushroom-looking thing, dude sitting on the bush.
Yeah, that threw me off.
I knew he was like kind of slanky and disgusting, but I did not expect that.
Yeah,
either.
I'm like it's a shriveled up mushroom man.
Yeah, shit's getting weird. He's like, milk me, for tomorrow we bring forth a new world. Very classic supervillain type deal.
Yeah, except for the milk me line, but everything else was classic supervillain.
That line threw me off. I was like, huh? Okay. And then
it's kind of funny that you made that comparison to the classic supervillain. And earlier we talked about how it resembled Venture Brothers.
Yeah, Venture Brothers.
Yeah, but it's funny that you say that because the mushroom guy kind of sort of reminded me of the Monarch just a little bit.
I can see that a little bit.
Like, it looks a little bit like the Monarch. I was looking for what was it, 23 in them?
Yeah.
You got a bunch of henchmen dressed up as mushrooms.
It wouldn't surprise me. Did you read any of the backup stories at all?
No, I did not.
Okay, I just got around to it the other day, and they're interesting. There's one about a night dude, and then one about the Wonder Twins, and
I saw a Swamp Thing in there somewhere.
There was the Green Lanterns showed up. I don't think Swamp Thing was there. But the second one's about the Wonder Twins and finding people are trying to duplicate Superman, and they're getting a bunch of bizarre ones. And there's this weird Batgirl story, or Batwoman story, where she sees Wonder Woman crash, and she helps her out. And then the Green Lanterns show up. It was really strange.
Yeah, I didn't read any of them. I read so many books this week. Like,
yeah, I
was like, I don't have time for backup issues and backup stories this week. Yeah,
they're just weird, like Young Animal, kind of reminds me of like Adult Swim type of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the first time I've actually read through them. I read a Green Arrow one that was kind of cool. It like changed his origin in a funny way. Not that it's not canon. But it's just for the fun. But yeah, we'll definitely want to hear your thoughts if you get a chance to catch up on 1, 2, and 3, and then if we end up talking about this more, I'd like to hear how you if it changed your mind or anything.
Yeah, I'll go back and read the previous issues just to see if this was just the off issue, like you said.
No doubt. Cool. Yeah, we can move on now.
All right, that brings us to our next book of the evening, which is going to be Invincible Iron Man #3, which features Brian Michael Bendis as writer, Stefano Caselli as artist, and Moretti Gracia as color artist. And we pick up with Riri. Well, we don't pick right up with Riri. We pick up with Mary Jane and, was it Friday?
Friday, yeah.
And they're talking to one of the other execs at Stark Industries about who's going to run the company. And apparently, before he died, Tony reconnected with his actual birth mother, and she's going to be running the company. And it turns out she's a famous singer who the exec is a huge fan of. And after putting him in his place, she tells Friday that she wants Friday to actually run the company and Mary Jane to help her. And talks about how the world needs an Iron Man. And with her son gone, she thinks it's a shame because we don't have Tony and we don't have Rhodey anymore. Mm-hmm. So they let her know that he's already put something in place. And that's where we pick up with Riri, who, under the tutelage of the AI Tony Stark, has been working on her new armor. And is a little bit more concerned with coming up with a name, and doesn't really particularly like some of the ideas that AI Tony is coming up with. We spend most of the rest of the issue following Riri as she flies around, and we see little glimpses of adventures that she's having. She's teaming up with Miles Morales, and she's fighting the Rhino, and the whole time the AI is...
that scene was very reminiscent of the trailer.
Spider-Man trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw it, I thought this is the exact same thing. I was like, oh, it's a Spider-Man trailer. It's Homecoming.
That was a nice touch.
It was. But through the whole day, or however long it's taking her to have all these little adventures, the AI keeps asking her about her past, and keeps asking her why doesn't she have any other friends her age, and keeps asking her about what happened with her friend and her stepfather. And they have a real touching moment on the rooftop, which brings the interesting revelation to something. And they're interrupted by Pepper Potts and her own Iron Man armor, who is discussing some things with Riri, when all of a sudden both of their armors are ripped off of them. And we see a gang of ninjas and a giant robot ninja looking, probably armored covered ninja.
Yeah, it was like
and that's
forming.
What we're in this issue.
It looked like all their armor was like going into form his.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
At first it was moving. I thought more the lines of almost like magnet. You know what? Now that I look at it again, you're right. It is.
Yeah, I think it was the second time I read through it.
You can see the pieces. Yeah, you can see the pieces coming together on his armor.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that was cool.
Ooh, who was that then? But what were your opinions on this issue? Before I get into it, I got a lot to say about this.
Yeah, word. A little bit of a rehash. You know, it's still kind of touching on her past with her father and her best friend. I'd like to move past that at some point because it was like touched on heavy, I thought, in this issue. It's kind of a nitpick, but and also like at one point I do want to move away from the Tony Stark aspect of things, like at least his. Right, I mean, really, at some point, keep him in there as far as like talking to Riri, but some of his other story I could go without. Like I think they've kind of set up where, at least this issue, with it being 3 issues now, I like to move forward and kind of like, move on with her story and let's get it rolling because I thought the cliffhanger was solid, to kind of get things rolling now and see what kind of predicament or how they get out of the situation they're in. Because it was funny too because the second time I read through it, I noticed that they didn't have their armor on them. And that's when it was like, oh, okay, so it was all going to the mech that's being built. So I think it's it left me on a cool cliffhanger, and I'd like to see the story. Let's get a little bit of action now that they've established the name and more of her background to bring us to where she is and how she got the name Ironheart. And I do have a question for you.
I may have an answer.
Do you think they should have, instead of doing making the title Invincible Iron Man, just right off the bat done Ironheart?
No. And I'm gonna tell you why. Is because for unless you were into the comic book news that was going around when they were first about to introduce her, when they made the announcement of the name, and they, like, personally, I don't even think they should have showed the armor until like this issue.
I agree. Yeah,
I don't think the armor should have been on any of the covers until this issue. This should be the only issue to have the armor.
Yeah, I think we might have said that too last time. I agree with that.
Yeah, we talked plenty of ways that she could have got the armor. This was kind of, sort of a mixture of a couple of the ways we said. But no, I think it should have been something Iron Man for the first 3 issues. And then I think actually going forward, it should change to maybe Invincible Ironheart, or it should be Ironheart going forward.
Yeah, this could have been like a prequel, like a 3-issue prequel, and then release the title name Ironheart. Because we kind of already knew. Or
even, I can even go one step further and say that they should change the name after the next issue. Maybe have her not get her armor back until the very end of that issue, and then that would be when she's officially now Ironheart. Because she's conquered her first extremely major, huge challenge. She's got her name. She's got her armor. She's ready to go now.
And I think the reveal of the name would have been stronger if we didn't already know it was going to be Ironheart. That kind of took away from them actually coming up with the name Ironheart by the end of this. I was like, it was just for me, like, I kind of already knew it was coming, so it wasn't that big of a revelation for me.
I'm going to agree and disagree with you on this one, and this is why. It's because when they first announced that her name was going to be Ironheart, I was like, what? No. I did not like the name Ironheart. And then through this issue, when he was like, well, we can call you Female, and he's understanding, and he's explaining what Fee means, like it's the atomic symbol for iron or something like that.
Yeah,
like, that's stupid.
Bendis did his thing.
But then her the whole conversation through the whole issue where she's like, well, why do I have to be? Because he thought she was gonna be called like Iron Woman or Iron Girl, and she's like, well, why do I have to be that? Why can't I'm a person? Like, it shouldn't be just because I'm a woman. Like, I thought that was a great argument she was making with him. Like, like She-Hulk. I never got that. What's a She-Hulk? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Just because I'm a girl, it shouldn't be any different. But then we get to that rooftop, and he keeps pushing her about the deaths of her stepfather and her best friend, and she makes that comment like, we were at the picnic and they both got shot right in the heart, and it shouldn't have made it. It was senseless. They got shot in the heart. And then Tony goes like, and you build armor. And then there's that pause, and he's like, Ironheart. And that exchange made me like the name. Because when you hear it that way, like, that's how she got her name. That's one of those moments, kind of like the last couple issues where we said that there's some really touching moments whenever they seem to talk about her past.
Yeah.
And that just, for me, elevated that name, because like I said, I hated the idea that was going to be her name. But now that I have an explanation and the way it came about of her getting that name, because when he said it, I was like, because I literally read it was like Ironheart, and I was like, oh, I had an oh moment, I had an aha moment.
Nice. Yeah, definitely.
And that just made me go like, I like the name. So I think going into this, if you didn't know, if you were a newcomer and someone like, if there was somebody who listened to our first couple episodes where we talked about the first 2 issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it was a newcomer and they got told by a friend, hey, listen to this podcast, you're interested in getting the comics, maybe they might tell you something you like. And they listen to our show and they hear us talking about Riri Williams, and they're like, oh, that sounds awesome. Like, I might want to pick that up. And then they picked up the first 2 issues and they've never read comics, or they don't know anything about the, comic book news or anything. And they get to this point, I think for that kind of reader, it's going to make even more of a big impact.
I was going to say, it's like a nice introduction to the character.
Yeah.
Like, that's a perfect issue
because like
to
you
read.
said, I knew going into it, when they start talking about it in the beginning of the issue, I was like, oh, this is the issue where she's going to get her name. She's got the armor now. She's going to get her name. It's Ironheart. I already know. And then seeing how it unfolded just had me like, oh, wow.
And
that's a powerful name.
And it's a solid way to set up the character now. And Bendis has set himself up to now take on the character to the next level. We have the name.
Yeah.
And
I can agree with you talking about the rehash, because it is rehashing her story yet again, but from a different angle. Because in the last issue where we saw her story, it was more of her having a flashback about what happened. And in this issue, it's more Tony secretly found out about it and is questioning her about it. And she's like, I don't want to talk about it. You shouldn't be snooping through my text messages or snooping through information about me. You shouldn't be doing that. So it's a little different because this is her mentor essentially, saying like, because essentially what Tony was trying to say to her when he did this is that pain is what makes a lot of superheroes. Think about Spider-Man. Think about how many times Uncle Ben's death has been like beaten into Spider-Man and Spider-Man comics and in shows and movies and everything.
Yeah.
But that's what made him Spider-Man. That's what made him want to, put on the suit and go fight crime. Batman's parents, same thing. That one moment is what made him want to do it. When we saw that issue about her best friend and her stepfather dying, we talked about that conversation with the detective and how you could see the moment on her face when she's like, I'm going to be a hero.
She decided,
I'm not going to let this happen to other people. So I think that's why it was rehashed, and especially coming from Tony. I think Tony was kind of trying to say, like, that pain and that dramatic moment is what brought you here to this moment to be a hero. And you can't forget that, no matter how much you might want to forget it. You can't forget it because that'll always remind you what you're doing it for and who you are. So from that aspect, I think it was okay to rehash it. It was a rehash yet again of her backstory. But I don't think going forward from here, we're going to see too much more of an emphasis placed on that backstory.
Yeah, I don't think so. I definitely hope not as well. Because now it's playing into the I forget who the Japanese villain is. She was in
I forgot. Was it Madame Mask?
Madame Mask, yes. So it looks like she's coming into play again. I remember it was maybe it was the last issue where they left off, and Madame Mask was like kind of looking into her because she was.
It was the last issue was the reveal.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really hoping it picks up from here, and I do hope at some point they do change the name to Ironheart.
I do too. I love the guest appearance by Pepper.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. Or I mean, it's
I didn't either.
It's kind of, you would expect it, but I didn't see that coming.
I didn't see her showing up with armor. I expected I expected her to go like to Tony's lab or something, and then run into Pepper or somebody.
I'll say, yeah, that's the thing. It's not her showing up; it's her showing up with armor.
Yeah, she flies down, and then the conversation between her and the AI, where she's like, "I'm not going to talk to an AI that looks like Tony Stark." And then she says something to him, she's like, great, I haven't been here 5 minutes and I already acknowledged the AI.
Right.
And then she makes that comment about, like, in our line of business, you shouldn't be ready to tell me who you are. I might look like somebody you know, but, I could be a villain in disguise and you don't know what I'm going to do with the information. I could kill your loved ones.
Scroll.
And she's like, it's cool. You're Pepper Potts. You do such and such and such and such. I'm Riri Williams. I'm such and such and such and such. And then she pauses. She's like, oh, I like her.
Setting up that relationship. But yeah, overall
good.
I
thought for me, this was another solid issue of Invincible Iron Man. I'm still a fan, a huge fan of this.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan. I'm ready to see where it goes now, and hopefully Bendis can deliver.
I think so. I think now we're ready to go. I think everything is pretty much in place. She's going to face her first big challenge in the next issue and come out of that, ready to just jump right into it and really seriously, start doing some superheroing.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I'd like to see the next issue a little bit more fast-paced, kind of ramping up as it goes and then end on a solid cliffhanger.
It should be because it's going to have to pick up with them on the rooftop, no armor, about to be attacked by ninjas and a giant ninja robot.
Right.
So it's going to have to, pick up from the jump.
If we get a whole flashback issue, I'll be kind of bummed.
And they're like, this is how we got away.
Yeah. They woke up. That's what's up, though. Cool. You got anything else for that?
No, just another great outing for Invincible Iron Man for me.
Oh, I did like. This is the first time of me seeing Tony's biological mother, Amanda Armstrong.
Oh yeah,
being a hippie musician. I thought it was funny.
Which is funny. The dude was like, "I'm a huge fan."
Right. And after like she pushed him out of the room,
she used that though. As soon as he said he was a fan, she used it.
She did, yeah. She like pushed him out of the room, and it was funny the exchange that her and Mary Jane and Friday had. She was like, "You guys have a plan, right? Like, I'm allowing you to run this. I'm just."
She was like, "Friday, no, nothing to Skynet," and she was like, "Too late."
I forgot about that.
Like Friday was cracking jokes.
Right, that was good. Oh yeah, we'll see what. I'm excited to get to the rankings now too. It usually changes after we talk about it. I always like make a list first, and then after we talk about it, it sometimes changes, and sometimes doesn't. But cool, yeah. Let's move on. Let's move on to probably my pick of the week. Spoiler.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I'm calling this as your pick of the week. Like this is being called. I don't think any amount of our conversation is going to change your mind this week.
Probably not. And we can get into it. And that brings us then to Kill or Be Killed, number 5. It's finally back. Waited just a little over a month. Written by Ed Brubaker, art by Sean Phillips and Elizabeth Breitweiser. So the issue doesn't waste any time getting back into the swing of things. We get a sense that Dylan is quite comfortable with murdering people who he believes deserves it. We're given quick moments of Dylan narrating how some relationships have changed since the beginning arc. No matter what, though, Dylan is always in the mindset of finding his next kill, and he becomes more comfortable with killing, but still isn't as skilled, and is learning from his mistakes. And the issue ends with Dylan taking a risk that leaves him in a situation, facing off with a cop after killing a crooked businessman in a restaurant bathroom. And wow, there's a lot to touch on in this issue. I probably should have had my copy ready, but I do. First things first, we should mention that it's summertime now, and excuse me. In the beginning arc, it was the winter. So I don't even know where to start with this one. So we get the flash forward of him actually killing the victim that he kills at the end, and it shows like the cop, and so it flashes forward again, and he's taking up boxing lessons after
it flashes back.
Or it flashes back. Excuse me. Thank you. It flashes back to you got me all thrown off. So yeah, he's taking boxing lessons now post the strip club incident. And they briefly mention kind of what happens, the fact that nothing really came about of it. So that probably also helped him get more comfortable with some of these murders that he's doing and taking boxing lessons to get stronger and whatnot. And so we see also that his relationship with Kira and Dylan, it's very awkward. He barely talks to his roommate, Dylan Mason. He barely talks to his roommate Mason anymore because him and Kira have broken up at this point. And I'd say a lot has happened since winter, and really since the last issue. Like right off the bat. But
like you said, we got the boxing lessons have happened. We've got the breakup between Kira and Mason.
Dylan still sees Kira at least once a week. You mentioned, it's very awkward.
Yeah.
And even his old girlfriend from the first issue shows up,
makes an appearance,
and throughout all this, it's very dark for him. But I thought that moment of her showing up kind of gave some hope into this horrible outcome that he's in. Because he can still have a relationship, but is he going to survive to have that relationship? Because now he's on the radar of the police.
Yeah, which is what he says at the end.
And we find out how he got the shotgun. He went to a gun convention.
He got the silencer upgrade, and he still didn't like that, so he decided to get the shotgun.
I'm actually on that page now too, when he's talking about the silencer. He's like, yeah, you think in the movies... Sound
like a rock hitting a wall?
Yeah, he's like, in the movies it sounds like a fut-fut, but yeah, it sounds like a rock hitting a car door. I thought that was cool.
And he goes to the gun show and gets a shotgun.
Yep. So now we've established how he got the mask, and now the shotgun, leading up to the big showdown in the end of all this. And even the demon makes an appearance too. Excuse me.
A slight appearance.
Very slight. I thought it was a strong appearance though, because he's like,
it was.
He's like, look at you, Dylan, like kind of like you turned into a monster, and you're comfortable with it.
Not even the same person anymore.
Yeah. And then he just
you don't even struggle. And talks about how it's making him feel righteous now. Now he's starting to feel righteous about killing people.
Right, and that's why he's always in the mindset of finding the next kill. Because even when he's on the date, I wish I had her name in front of me right now. I forgot it. What was his ex-girlfriend's name? Daisy. When he's having lunch with Daisy, that's when he finds... Well, actually, I should bring it back, because his first kill this issue was the dog poisoner who was killing dogs in the neighborhood. And so he kills him first before he kills the Barry Jameson, the investment funder who was running a pyramid scheme, and people lost a bunch of money. Kind of touching on the whole Enron aspect of things.
Enron and Bernie Madoff and stuff like that.
Yeah, talking about how they got away with it, and it always seems that you just hear about sports stars and celebrities, the little money that they lose, but everyone beneath them, no one ever talks about. So again, touching on the social aspect of things throughout all this. But yeah, the next victim though, Barry Jameson. We find out that he was an investment fund, and he's watching him the whole time and starts to pick up on his routines. And he's sitting outside of his apartment, and that at that point he notices that the only time he's ever alone is after he orders a hamburger that he orders every time he goes to the bathroom. And so that's when he takes a chance to hop through the window of the side of the building. And he knows it's risky because it's like the middle of the day, and that's the only time he's able to get this guy alone. But his luck, the cops are in there as he's about to shoot him because they're ordering a sandwich, and that's where the issue ends. But yeah, solid cliffhanger. This was just all around like great pickup point to come back on. I thought it was very strong. I've been talking my ass off about this.
Yes, you have.
What are your thoughts?
Once again, it did not disappoint me. Since you introduced me to Killer Be Killed, like I've been enjoying every issue, and every issue seems to ramp it up a little bit, give you just enough of the story to keep it moving along.
Oh yeah,
and make just enough of a new revelation to add to the story. I'm definitely interested to see. I mean, obviously, I know how he gets away. Like, he's going to shoot the cop and give him the chance to get away. And that death of the cop is what's going to put him on the radar.
True.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I'm still wondering if he does actually shoot the cop or not. I would think so. I mean, that's only...
Ooh. Yeah. Wait a minute. What do
you got?
I see something that I did not see before.
Tell me.
There's two cops.
Yeah, at the end. By the end of it, there's two cops. Yeah, we see the second one.
I didn't notice the second cop the first time. I just noticed the one that came in and told him to freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh boy. And then the shot, and you're right, in the beginning when you see it, you just see one cop. And then in the end, you see there's a second cop coming around the corner.
Yeah, he's either going to have to kill both of them, or... I don't know. I'm assuming that will happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do a quick twist on us. It's possible.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what's going to happen in the next issue. Like, definitely a great cliffhanger for me.
Yeah, and quick plug, I wrote a review for this at, you can find it at weirdsciencedc.com. But I was going to mention, in my review, I mentioned, it caught us up on where they've been, and it was kind of a recap issue. But like you said, they opened up, they pushed the story. They did a good job of juggling the past, present, and future of everything that's going on, while providing us with, a little bit more action and to move the story along.
Definitely agree. Like it juggled all of that accurately.
Let's see. I was thinking, is there anything else I might have forgot? I think I might have already ranted all of it off. But I'm loving this. I'm so glad it's back. Like it was well worth the wait. And the art, I mean, the panel layouts.
Art goes without being said.
Oh yeah.
At this point, I've come to notice that we're talking about Killer Be Killed. Like we've mentioned art once. Like there's no need to mention it again. Like it's the same great art.
I think it even ramped up a little bit in this issue.
I think that's because we're seeing more things. We're seeing more settings than probably in the other issues.
True, that's very true.
So we're getting more of a variety, and I actually think this may be the issue we get the most color out of.
Yeah, I would agree. I would have to agree.
We get reds and blues and oranges, and
especially when it comes to when it's they mentioned like it's summertime now. It's like super bright, and the panel with the boxing gym was. I really want to buy some of Sean Phillips' his prints at some point, man. But yeah, I think it's interesting. He's taking boxing lessons now, and he's getting more confidence. Like right off the bat, I felt like I was reading time passing over with this character, just the way it was written, and how he's so comfortable now with everything. So yeah, back into the swing of things, and that's really cool that Daisy pops back in. They don't really touch on the demon as much, but the little bit they provided was solid.
Because the way they did describe it and touch on it, it makes you wonder even more now. Like, is it really a demon, or is it seriously like something of his psyche?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when
I think it does it. I think it does it better in this issue than it did in the past issues. Like in the past issues, we said like, you're not sure if the demon is real or if it's some part of his subconscious. But in here, it seems even more like it's part of his subconscious.
No, I'm glad you said that too, because when he's talking to Daisy during their lunch, and he's kind of talking about how his dad did. He said about how he should use self-expression, and he found a bunch of his old artwork, like the porn stuff he was doing, and she kind of mentions like you spend your whole life as a painter without putting some of yourself into the work, and that line really stuck out to me. It's making me think. All right, I should finish it too. I hate quoting comics at the bat, but I feel like for this book you have to, even if it's just your erotic fantasies and like. Kind of just the whole aspect of, what's real, what's not real, what is a fantasy. It just makes you question what's real and what's not real of all of this. It's a mind juggler, I tell you.
Yeah, that it is.
It's probably why I like it so much, because it's so much interaction and just a good book. I can go on for days about this. But yeah, the cliffhanger alone, like when I got to the end, I was like, fuck. I was like, I need the next issue now. Like, what the fuck?
You're like, is it out yet? Is it out?
Right. So yeah, excuse me. Yeah, for my review, I was able to get this early, so I felt like a kid on Christmas. Because I think
and you had to wait for me to read it.
Yeah, I think as soon as I got it, I read it, and then I remember I texted you. I was like, yo.
Yo, you need to read it first.
And
I said I was going to read it first, and I did.
Did you get the physical copy as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Whew. Isn't the paper? I think just the presentation. The paper is like
different grade of paper.
Thicker. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. It is. They're using a thicker stock of paper.
Perfect for the art. Well worth the $3.99. And it was perfect too because they released the trade of the first 4 issues the same day. That was very smart of them.
I knew it came out, but I didn't know it came out the same day.
Yeah, I was like, that's cool. I think I'll probably wait until it's all collected. This is one of those books where I don't mind having the floppies and then getting the trade.
If they did an omnibus of this, would you get the omnibus?
Yes, because there'd probably be so much artwork in there.
That was a silly question, but I knew you would say yes.
Yeah, I usually don't buy. I don't have any omnibuses, but this is one I would buy.
Nor do I.
Those things are expensive. Oof.
That's why.
Yeah.
I can honestly get a collectible for the price. I can get a couple collectibles for the price of an omnibus.
Right. I love the cover to the next issue. Shit's about to get real.
Oh, yeah.
Shit's about to get real.
But what's funny is we say that every time we review one of these Killer Be Killed. We see the preview cover for the next issue, and we're both like, oh, I love the cover for the next issue.
I already love it. Yeah. Such a good book. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad I could get you onto something cool.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely have been enjoying it. I have to be honest, out of all the books that you suggested since we started doing this, this is definitely my top book.
Hell yeah. Deservedly so. Well, yeah, we can't wait for the next issue. That's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah.
Whew. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed now after that one. But yeah, let's move on now. We got a few more books left.
Yeah, hang in there. We got 2 more books left. Hang in there. Well, I guess that'll bring us to the next book of the evening, which is going to be The Clone Conspiracy #4, which has Dan Slott as writer, Jim Cheung as penciler, John Dale and Corey Smith are both inkers, and Justin Ponser is the color artist. We pick up with this issue with the Lizard, Doc Ock, and Electro in the lab of the New U facilities, actually trying to research Kane to try to figure out why it is that he's a clone and he has managed not to break down and decay. That hopefully they'll be able to find some kind of way to cure the issue that they have with the New U men. We are then introduced to Doc Ock's former love, which I didn't know. I didn't know Maria and him had a falling out.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know because I'm not familiar with much of the Spider-Man verse. So I actually looked it up afterwards and read into it. I thought that was interesting. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, well, I found it very interesting too, especially since he talks about he traversed death to get back to her.
Yeah.
We then flash to Ben Reilly, the Jackal, and Spider-Man, who have loaded Uncle Ben's body into a van, and they're headed to the New U facility. And of course, Ben Reilly is still having this conversation with how everything they're doing is okay. Once at the New U facility, we see that the Gwen Stacy resurrected version has made it back to New U, and they're on the lookout for Spider-Gwen, who's actually hanging around outside. Inside, they are taken to Haven, which is a town that has been built for all the New U people to live in. I can't call him Warren anymore. Riley is keeping them there until he feels that they're ready to actually be able to go out into society. They're all there until he can find a permanent cure for them. After a little bit of back and forth, Doc Ock has some kind of idea on how to actually reverse or prevent the decay going on with the New U men. And once Peter has the revelation that Ben is lying to him, he's not going to bring back Uncle Ben because he essentially is Peter's clone. So if he were his clone, that would have been the first person he brought back. And since he has not brought him back, there's no way he's going to bring Uncle Ben back. With this revelation, Ben Reilly commands the new U-Men to actually kill Spider-Man. And then Spider-Gwen breaks into the lab and has a little tussle with the other new U-Men, Doc Ock, and that's when the Jackal enters, and they have a little disagreement, and the Jackal and Doc Ock get into a fight, and after seeing how Jackal moves, he figures he has something to do with Spider-Man. Either he replicated Spider's powers, or he's actually a clone, and so he decides to release a signal that will actually start to break down the cells of the new U-Men, which is exactly what happens. One of them touches, as a matter of fact, Doc Ock touches Anna Marie, and she starts to decay of some kind of disease. And we see around the world, or at least around the city, there are other people who have been brought back through the new U technology who are starting to actually break down from the virus that Spider-Gwen and Kane warned of, which is actually the carrion virus. And that's where we end the issue.
Yeah.
I had to do some research. Yes, research because I knew of Carrion. He's a former Spider-Man character.
Okay.
So when I first heard him talk about the carrion virus, I was curious about it. And then based off of the cover that I have, because I have the variant cover, and also based off of what's happening in the issue, it made me had to go back and recheck up on Carrion.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I wasn't familiar with that.
Well, originally he came from he came right after the first Clone Saga. He was supposedly a clone of the original Warren, and kind of like the other clone, like what's going on now, where they're starting to decay. He decayed and turned into this monster, zombie-like creature. But they did a bunch of retcons later on that kind of like jerked around with what Carrion was and who he was and what it is and all that. But I just think it's interesting now that it's turning into that this is actually a virus that the new human have that can be spread to regular people.
Yeah. I thought that was it really ramped up at the end with when the whole city was starting to turn. I was like, shit. When I saw Doc Ock respond to Ben's powers, I was like, yeah, maybe he's already cloned himself. I didn't know what to take away from that at first.
From Ben?
Yeah.
Doing it, or
from Ben when he's jumping?
Yeah. Or are you saying you don't know what you did? Are you saying that's what you think Doc Ock was thinking?
Yeah, that's what I think he was thinking. Like he had maybe cloned himself of some sort.
Oh yeah, definitely agreed. I figured that he was thinking that either he genetically altered his DNA somehow and cloned himself to be a spider clone, or that he was somehow a clone of Spider-Man. Like he realizes like you have spider powers. Like there's nobody can move like that. I've been in Peter's body. I understand how he moves and how movement works when you have those powers.
Yeah.
You have to have spider powers, which in that case would be a total lie to me. You already insulted my woman who doesn't want me, so right. I'm about to mess all this up.
And I'm glad they kind of planted that seed in the beginning of the of this whole series. That the fact that Doc Ock came out and he was like, I'm aware of everything. So it's good that they planted that because he would be the one that would be able to point that out and pick it up right away. Some good writing, I think. I mean, I'm not too familiar with the with Spider-Verse, but just reading this, not knowing much, it's an enjoyable story. And like I said, by the end of it, it really ramped up things. And I kind of thought this was Doc Ock and Anna Maria. Their whole story in this really stood out.
It did. Because
at first, I was like, when she comes into the room, they're arguing, and then science, like when they start to talk about science, that like changes their attitudes, and they work together. But
she's like, I might hate you, but I love your brain.
Exactly. Yeah, she's still not on good terms with him, but she wants to figure out this whole virus thing as well. And then did you feel like Ben Reilly? Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, did you feel Ben Reilly like turned full asshole at the beginning of this issue?
I think he did halfway through the issue. It wasn't the beginning.
Or
In the beginning, he kind of was the Ben Riley I remember, which is basically like Peter Parker. He's cracking jokes and all that, making some kind of funny jokes. But when they got to Haven, and Peter made that speech about, if you're essentially me, you would have done this a long time ago. Like that would have been the first thing you did when you found out you could bring people back. You would have brought Uncle Ben back.
Yeah, and that's kind of when he started to turn.
You haven't done it, and he doesn't even think that's Uncle Ben in the coffin anymore. He's like, that's probably not even Uncle Ben's remains in there. And that's the moment where he went all the way over the edge, and like he went full villain.
Right. And Anna Marie gave it to him because he was like, at one point he like kind of insulted her. He's like, I can give you a new body. And you wouldn't have to be little anymore. And she was like, I'm fucking perfect.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
That's when Doc Ock flipped. Because he says, if you're right and this cure or this process you guys have come up with works, then, I can take your mind and I can put you in a full-size body so you can augment any kind of way you want. You don't have to be... He called her genetically flawed or something like that.
Yeah. And she was like, fuck you, pretty much.
Yeah, she was like, defects. He said, you get rid of all the defects. And she's like, defects? There's nothing wrong with me. And then Doc Ock was like, how dare you
talk
about my lady like that?
Yeah, they were probably my favorite part of this whole issue.
Well, hold on. He said, how dare you make such an offer to the woman I love? What insolence. This... Oh, Doc Ock. I can just hear Doc Ock.
He's trying so hard to get her back.
He is trying he turned it up to 11.
I love their relationship, though. It makes me want to go back and... Because actually, I was looking to see what her first appearance was, because I want to go and find that issue. I think it was in...
I believe it was it was sometime during the Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, I can't remember what the title was at the time, but I looked it up. But I'm going to try to find that.
Yeah, because they were going to be married. I believe they were going to get married.
Yeah.
And then obviously died, and she kind of fell for Peter during the Superior Spider-Man, not knowing it was Doc Ock. Yep. And then obviously, eventually, she finds out it was Doc Ock, and yeah, I felt bad for her.
That has me intrigued to finally read about that whole story about Doc Ock being Spider-Man in his body.
Yeah, I remember all the stink that happened when it happened. Like I remember because I have the last issue of Amazing Spider-Man when they killed Peter and was getting ready for the Superior, and then I have the I think the first 2 or 3 volumes of the trades. I haven't read the Superior Spider-Man yet, but I have them.
Okay. Yeah, I love the banter at the beginning too between Doc Ock and Lizard. He's like kind of insulting him, and Lizard's like, "I don't have to take this. I'm gonna go have family with my dinner."
That was hilarious. You like, you don't have to insult me like that. I don't need to take this. I'm going to have dinner.
And then he sees Warren. He's like, "Get out of my way." He's like, "That's funny."
That's because he made that comment like, "We can't trust you, Lizard," because we all know that if you do it, then everyone's gonna turn to giant lizard people.
Right. There's something else that Warren came back up at some point because someone suggested using his body to clone themselves instead of theirs. Trying to find that page real quick. I wish I could remember who it was. Oh, yeah, it was Doc Ock. He's like, Warren's like, yeah, you don't have to use one of my 7 clones. How about you try it on someone else? Try it on. That's when they were like, try it on Kane. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, try it on Kane instead. Poor Warren. Got 7 clones running around.
Oh, boy.
But that's a lot of people that have died because of Parker at the Haven.
Yeah, that's what I said, too, because I've been on and off with Spider-Man lore. Like, I remember a lot of the people in the panels when they show all of them lining up to get their medicine. I remember most of them, but I'm like, I don't remember him being responsible for this person's death or this person's death. Like, man, they killed a lot of Spider-Man's people off.
Even the civilians that turned at the end.
Oh, so, yeah.
Really, the bigger plan of Ben Reilly's came out. It makes you.
Well, this was
Oh, go ahead.
Well, he said it. He told Peter how he had helped influential people. He had people all over
Yeah, the
that
government.
he had helped with the new you, so that it would be easier for him to do this whole plan. And then, like you said, at the end when they flip the switch and that vibration or whatever goes out, and you start seeing all the different people in all these different areas that are being affected by it, you're like, man, he really he really had this set in motion.
Yeah. That makes me question too. Like now that we're getting a Ben Reilly series, it makes me wonder how they're gonna transition him into the superhero Ben Reilly. Because he's
that
pretty
was my
evil.
question that was my question from the moment he unmasked himself as the Jackal. Was like, if we're gonna they had announced it at that time, but I wanted him to come back.
Yeah.
But once they announced it, I was just like, how are they gonna? Because we kind of knew that something like this was going to happen, and that's because of when Kane went to the other dimension. So we knew something like this had the potential to happen. So from that moment, I'm wondering, how are you going to redeem him enough to be able to have him come back as a hero?
I'm hoping Marvel didn't. Hopefully Marvel didn't put them in a hole. Put themselves in a hole. I mean.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, are they going to stop this before it really spreads and really gets too crazy and out of control? And then is he going to be like, I realized what I was doing was wrong, and as atonement, makes him throw back on the costume, like,
that would
instead of trying to bring back people, I should be trying to save people?
I think that would be kind of lazy, a little bit. Because for me, it'd be like a little too cliche.
What if he sacrifices himself and he dies, and then they do figure out a cure for this, or they figure out a way to bring him back, and so they just bring him back? Like Peter's like, well, that was the sacrifice of a hero, and that's why Peter brings him back, and they make this agreement, like, save people instead of trying to bring people back.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Somehow that's going to be, in the end of it, somehow that's going to play a part in him being Scarlet Spider again. He's going to play somehow on the fact that he thinks he should be saving people instead of trying to resurrect you.
I'll say it has to end up that way somehow. Just the way it makes me wonder how they're going to play it off.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is how are you going to play it off? How are you going to set this up to give you that?
Oh yeah, real quick, I do want to touch on Electro. She had some comedic moments in this, because when one of them was when Gwen came through to save Ben, or not Ben, but Kane, and she's like, Electro says like, yeah, real smooth, and I'm glad they kind of made fun of themselves for saying the line, but Spider-Gwen was like, yeah, sometimes I like to vent, and then the next dialogue.
Oh yeah, he's like, you're just a teenage girl, aren't you?
Yeah, and she's like, I like to vent, and then her next dialogue bubble is like, yeah, I know that joke was terrible. So I'm glad they put that in there. It was a good little cheesy line.
Yeah, which I will have something to add to this a little bit later.
Word. But yeah, overall, I'm enjoying this the Clone Conspiracy. I think a lot of people are.
We
for
got
the most
one
part.
issue left.
Yeah, one. Is it
Don't we
5
got
or
one
6?
issue? I thought it was 5, but it could be 6.
It could be 6. 6
I'd
seems
be down
normal.
with 6. I don't see them wrapping it up in 5.
No.
Now that we've got this revelation in this issue, so I do see it probably being 6.
Yeah, overall, I think this has been a good story, good, well-written story, and the art has been pretty good. Not pretty good; it's been pretty great, actually.
Consistent.
Yeah, very consistent. Hell yeah. We got anything else for that?
Nah, I do, but it'll come later.
All right. Well, let's move on to our last book of the evening. And that is Spider-Gwen number 16, written by Jason Latour, art by Robbie Rodriguez, and color artist is Rico Renzi. We continue the Sitting in the Tree arc as Miles Morales has entered Earth 65 to find his father. Gwen and Miles talk about how both of their fathers are in the kind of the same difficult situation at this point. And Matt Murdock makes an appearance to give them both a hard time and to make it known that he has info on Miles' father. That leads them to Club Scorpion, where Gwen goes undercover and it's quickly busted by Dr. Ock, which I thought was good to see him again this week.
Yes.
And the issue ends with Miles coming into the club to knock out Dr. Ock. And Earth 65 version, I believe, of Miles' dad is revealed as the cliffhanger. Pretty short, or pretty easy read, fast read, I should say. What were your thoughts on the Spider-Gwen Part 2?
Well, obviously, I've been liking. This is only the second issue, but I've been liking the Sitting in Tree arc so far. I love the conversation between the two about, like you said, their parents, their dads. I like the little moment where she gives him some pop, and he's kind of like, I don't really drink soda, and then he's talking about how different it is.
I thought that was weird.
It was weird, but it's kind of like they said, like they're in another world, so like things are going to be slightly different there.
Oh, I just meant because they drew it as if she was offering it to him just with her hand instead of dialogue. Because at first she says, "Yeah, I can get that here," and then you see her kind of. It looks like she might be handing it to him, and he says, "No thanks. I try not to drink too much soda." It kind of just threw me off because there was no text before that to.
I got.
To kind of hint that she was offering it to him. I'm not sure if that was a possible screw up or not, but it's possible that they were kind of trying to draw it as if she was handing it out to him.
What's funny is I do not actually see that panel you're talking about, because what I see is him sitting on the sign.
Yep.
And then she shows up with the 2 sodas, and then next thing they're both sitting there with the sodas, and he's drinking it. I don't even see her handing it to him. I see there's a part where later on the next page where she grabs him by the arm.
It should be on the same page you're looking at.
Yeah, it should be.
It's the second
because that's
panel.
The part with the soda interaction.
Yeah, and it's when he says, "No thanks. I try not to drink much soda."
Oh, it looks like she's about to try to hand it to him. Maybe it's the perspective.
Yeah, that's what I kind of took from it, but it just threw me off for a second.
It's the perspective.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I see what you mean now. Yeah, it's the perspective. Like, her left hand was like she's about to hand it to him, but it's like, how are you gonna hand it to him? He's way over there.
Right.
But I liked that little conversation. I thought it was kind of a touching moment when she took her mask off to kind of get serious with him, and then they had the little hug, and then all of a sudden, Spider Sense, and he just jumps out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering because the way he was talking, I'm wondering if this is finally the big thing that Matt Murdock's been talking about.
I didn't even think about that. Maybe because it almost seems like they've been setting this up for a while, because it made me think, like, since we haven't been reading the previous Spider-Man series with the whole Civil War thing and his father joining S.H.I.E.L.D., and then you think about it, her father saved her life and went to jail for her. So it seems like they've been planning this for a while, and this all could be leading up to Matt Murdock's big plan, maybe?
Yeah, that's what I was getting. I was taking like, this is the big plan. And I thought it was funny that we finally got somebody from the regular universe who comments like, because remember I said it should have been Spider-Woman when they had what should have been the Thanksgiving issue?
Yeah.
But Spider-Man says, and he's kind of like, Matt Murdock, in my world you're blind and you have a sixth sense and all that. And he's like, oh, I just see what people tell me. And I thought it was sweet that he had the sword cane.
Oh yeah, that was pretty badass. I thought it was a little hokey when he dropped the "I know about your father" thing. I thought it was a little cliche. Reminded me of something in a movie, like a quick like one of the old 80s action movies where they're like, "Oh, I have this information on someone you might know," type deal.
It did seem like that, but what's funny is so far That's how Matt Murdock in Earth 65 has been striking me like an 80s villain. Who just happens to run a ninja organization instead of like a traditional like drug organization or something.
Yeah, and it's more of a nitpick because like the more I thought about it, like he is the kingpin, so he does have his ear to the ground and he does know everything. So it made sense. Which one question I had for you is there's not a Miles in Earth 65, is there?
It's really funny you said that because I don't know. And that's the first thing I thought when it got to the end of the book, because I took it as that was Earth 65 version of his dad.
Yeah.
And then I was immediately like, wait a minute, there should probably be an Earth 65 version of him somewhere.
Okay, because I mean, more likely that means there isn't one yet, because I feel like you would have known for sure. But I don't think it's ever, I've never seen it mentioned, excuse me, I've never seen it mentioned anywhere. So it makes me think that there's possibly an Earth 65 Miles out there that Matt Murdock was familiar with. Maybe he's thinking he's looking at a version of Miles. So there's some questions to be answered.
Maybe. I didn't even think about it that way.
Oh, yeah.
What if, this is just a crazy idea, but what if what if his dad is actually the Earth 65 one? Like, what if the Earth 65 one jumped over to our world, had Miles, and lived here for a few years, and then jumped back over there?
Oh, that'd be playing with Secret Wars then, because
it would be in a way, but then again, isn't Spider-Gwen playing with Secret Wars? Because wasn't Secret Wars supposed to eliminate a lot of these extra dimensions?
Yes and no. Because by the end of it's weird. That's interesting you bring it up because it makes me wonder. Because at the end of it, Fantastic Four is building new universes. Like they throw out different universes.
Yeah.
So I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head, but at the end of throughout the Miles gives Nuclear Man, I believe. I wish I can know for sure, but I believe his name was Nuclear Man. He gave him a cheeseburger, and the whole thing was the guy was hungry the entire time. He wasn't being fed. So for giving him that cheeseburger, Nuclear Man saved or brought back his parents into the Earth 616 universe. So if I hope that's not the case, and this is, what you said, kind of how he came over here, that would really mess up. Well, I mean, Marvel loves fucking up continuity, so it wouldn't surprise me if they change it again.
Well, what a better way to do it.
But that is a good theory. I like that that idea, though. But we really will have to find out who this guy is and where. Because something tells me his father's still out there, being captured.
Yeah, I mean, more than likely, I do think there is a Earth 65 version of his father and the regular version, and that somehow his father got mixed up in something. Obviously, we know he did, ended up over there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that this version he sees at the end is the Earth 65 version.
Yeah, because his Earth 65 dad seems to be up to some illegal stuff.
Yeah, up to no good. He looks nefarious. I did also enjoy the moment between him and Spider-Gwen where she's talking about how she doesn't have anybody to talk to or open up to, and it's kind of like, we're talking right now. You're opening up to me. I'll listen to you.
Yeah, and there's one thing that's like kind of, I want to bring this up. So when they go to the club. I
already know what you're about to say.
He's not able to get into the club because he's 16.
Yep.
And we get this whole kiss thing sitting in a tree arc. And it's noted that she is older.
Yep.
And I didn't even think about it until this issue.
I knew that from when we talked about this the very first time, when I very first brought this up. I knew that. I knew there was an age gap between the two.
So it makes me think if they're going to play it in the way of how we saw at the beginning of Miles or Amazing Spider-Man, the part 1 of this whole arc, is if that kiss is more just like a peck. You know, like how you were, say, I mean, personal experience, when I was like, 15, 16, you had a crush, and that person was being nice, and I don't know. But I was like, it's slightly weird, so it makes me wonder how they're going to play into that. Or how they're going to play this whole thing off.
I don't think they're going to do it as a peck, because I'm looking at the other issue of Spider-Man, and that's more than a peck.
Oh, boy.
I think more than likely what's going to happen is they're going to have that kiss. They're going to have that connection. And she's probably going to tell him, like, we can't have a serious relationship, until you're older. And maybe she spends, maybe they are kind of like boyfriend and girlfriend from here on out, but she's like, we gotta limit the kissing and all that stuff.
It's really
until you're at least 17.
Yeah, it's really
that's the age of consent. When you're 17.
Yeah, it really made me think about it a lot. So I couldn't wait to bring it up to you to see if you kind of caught on to that as well.
Oh yeah, like I said, I knew it from the start. From the start, I knew it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, that is right, because Spider-Gwen is in Miles' age range. Or not Miles, Peter's age range. Oh, shit. But, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's about to be 17.
Yeah. We'll see how this goes.
Maybe what he said, like in a month?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think she said a month.
So maybe she just goes like, okay, I'll wait a month for you.
Oh, boy. I did enjoy the Bizarre World of Earth 65. I love seeing Earth 65 and the villain auctions they were having.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good. There were some characters I could tell there were some throwback characters that I wasn't familiar with.
That the whole Club Scorpion thing was awesome for the reason you said, because they were having the auction of all the different hero and villain gear.
Mm-hmm.
And she recognized, like, hey, didn't somebody steal, like, the Taskmaster shield a little while ago? And I heard somebody stole Nick Fury's eye patch.
Yeah, that was good.
Which was funny to me because not a couple years ago when they killed 616 Wolverine, right? They did a follow-up arc called Wolverines. And in that, they had all the characters that were most directly related or associated with Wolverine, like Sabretooth, Lady Deathstrike, Mystique, X-23, Daken. But they introduced a new character who was a master thief. And she kept being hired for impossible jobs where she had to steal articles from different heroes and villains.
Okay.
She had to break into... Have you ever seen the picture of Wolverine with, I think it was Nick Fury with the eye patch?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, there was a time where Wolverine wore an eye patch for whatever reason, and it was in, like, a bar in Madripoor. And she was hired to break into Madripoor and steal the eye patch. And then somebody hired her to break into the Punisher's lair and steal the Punisher's T-shirt off of him.
That sounds like something.
And they wanted the actual T-shirt he wears, so she had to steal it off of him while he was asleep.
Oh wow, that's something I want to read. What's it called?
Oh yeah, it's good.
What's it called?
The series is called Wolverines.
Okay.
It's like I think 7-8 issues or something like that in the series. But if you give me some time, I can look and find the exact issue where she's stealing the stuff.
Okay, yeah, we'll figure that out later. Sweet.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. But yeah, it's like you just said, it's just that it's funny. But that's what this made me think of, because this is what she was doing, is she was stealing this stuff so that it could be sold to collectors.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw this, I instantly flashed back to that, like, oh, I wonder if somehow that's connected.
Nice. Yeah, then we get Dr.
I thought that
Ock.
was... Yeah, that's what I was about to say next. I thought it was awesome to see that, and then you see Dr. Ock with the, like, psychic octopus.
Yeah, I didn't know it was coming, because it shows up at the end, and you just see, like, the hand. And I couldn't tell if it was an octopus or not. But then it gets wrapped around her face, and he zaps it off. and punches him out.
And then after he announces that, after Doc Ock announces that he's actually working with Silk.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of a big reveal.
And then, we just found out about Silk pretty much.
Yeah.
And so finding out like all these who's in Silk now is going to be an interesting thing to see. But this is done after he reveals two powers that Gwen didn't know that he had, which is the camouflage ability and then his venom sting.
Yeah, that was good. He's like, I think I knocked it unconscious. I'm not sure. It might be dead.
Yeah, he was saying, like, I hope I knocked it unconscious. I wasn't trying to kill it, but I mean, it could be dead.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get the big reveal of the Earth-65 or his dad.
Or his dad, yeah.
Yeah, overall, I like this issue. I definitely was a departure from the way the last issue was set up, because the last issue was pretty much done completely. And obviously this one we're pretty much picking right up from the moment that, he saw Gwen. And overall I thought it was definitely a good addition to the story. I definitely enjoyed this.
It makes me wonder how much involvement the two writers have together. I mean, obviously they have some. But yeah, it's interesting to see two writers writing two different titles for the same event series. So hopefully it plays out well.
Yeah, it's to be honest, with the exception for the way they were written, you can't really tell two different writers wrote it.
I could tell from that first issue. That was some business dialogue. It stuck out to me at least.
That's what I mean with the writing style, because like I said, the first issue was complete flashback.
Yeah.
And it had me wondering if the whole series was going to be if all the issues were going to be flashbacks of him telling the story of how they got to the kiss.
The awkward kiss. We'll have to find out about.
It's not awkward.
All right. Keep telling yourself that.
I'm campaigning for Miles and Gwen. All right. Even if he has to wait.
It's so funny too, because they're pushing it in the animated TV show that they're doing. So they're really pushing this.
When you told me about that, made me wonder if this is going to come up in the animated show at all.
I don't think it will. I think it'll be a new timeline.
So do you think that they might hint? What I mean is, like, do you think maybe as they're doing the first few 10 or whatever many episodes, he's kind of hitting on Spider-Gwen a little bit, like he's letting her know, like, I do like you.
I could see that.
And it'll be a while before they do some kind of arc. It probably won't be this arc, but they do some kind of arc where they do end up kind of dating.
If he's old enough. But yeah.
But that's the thing about it being a TV show, is they could say, like, hey, they're all the same age.
That's very true.
They're just from different dimensions.
That's why I think they would probably make it a different timeline. That way they could do that if they wanted to.
I say they make it a slightly different timeline. I say they make Peter a little bit older than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Just so we can say he's been doing this longer than them.
True.
But I personally wouldn't have an issue if they made Gwen and Miles the same age in the cartoon.
Me either. What's that? Do you know what?
Or even if they made them like a year apart.
Is that gonna be on Cartoon Network? I can't remember if they actually.
No idea.
Yeah, I don't think that's been announced yet.
It's probably gonna be on Disney XD.
Or Disney XD.
All of Marvel's cartoons go to Disney XD.
Yep. Yeah,
so it'll go on there to replace Ultimate Spider-Man.
True. Yeah, I mean, I had some nitpicks, but the more I kind of talk about it, I guess it was fun to talk about, because there's some bizarre stuff, and especially the whole Earth, different dimensions, Earth-65 father thing going on. So
yeah,
I'll definitely have to give my judgment once it's all wraps up to see what they do with it.
Same here. I'm guessing it's looking like this is. You think this is going to be like a 4 issue?
I was actually going to ask you. I can't remember if this is like a quick 5, more than likely I feel like it's going to be 6 issues.
I just asked because they're bouncing back and forth between each series, so I was just wondering is issue 3 going to be Spider-Man? Issue 4 is going to be
Quinn,
Issue 5, that's what I meant.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yep.
So I would think you would bounce back. So it has to be something even. It has to either be 4 or 6 then.
Right.
That way you can have an even 3 Spider-Man and even 3 Spider-Gwen.
True. Yeah, so we'll probably have to wait. So I wonder if it's going to be bi-weekly or not. So that means we'd have to wait like 4 months for each one. That seems kind of long.
It really does.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll probably find that out when we actually start picking our books, huh?
Yep. That's what I was gonna say.
If we see Spider-Man, we're like, oh, yep, that's how they're doing it.
Yep. But cool. You want to move on to the next favorite part of our of this show?
Oh yes, let's do it.
All right. I can't remember if you started off last week or not, but you can go first.
Okay. Well, we had what?
9 books.
Yeah. What? Like we had 9 books this week.
9
books.
My
goodness. All right. Bear with me while I try to keep count of where I'm at.
Yeah, I fucked up last week.
Well, number 9 for me. Oh yeah. Well, we're not even going to do that. Okay, we're not even going to worry about how you were like, yeah. So my number 3 book, like Ryan, it's your number 4 book. Oh, okay. Well, my number 2 book it's your number 3 book. Oh, but are we going to start like we've been doing from the bottom to the top?
Yeah, bottom to the top.
All right. Well, for me this week, my number 9 book. Wow, never thought I'd hear myself say that on this show. My number 9 book for this week is actually going to be Cave Carson Has a Cybernetic Eye, and number 4.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
As I said, the artwork was pretty cool. Wasn't enough to make me a fan or a fanatic, and the story really didn't do enough for me this week. Maybe once I read the last few issues, maybe that'll change my mind.
Yeah, after I read this issue, I was like, man, this is not the issue I wanted him to read.
Were you tempted to contact me and be like, yeah, we're going to change it. We're not going to do that book this week.
I should have. I wanted you to love this book. But respectfully so. I definitely respect that. Sweet. Well, my number 9 is actually going to be Spider-Gwen number 16.
Okay.
The more we talked about it, I enjoyed it a little bit more. But it didn't move the story along. I thought it was a little cliche at points. I enjoyed seeing the whole Earth 65. That's always a good time. I'm hoping that they play this Matt Murdock thing a little bit bigger. We'll see how that goes. It's really hard to rank this event. It's so weird. We have like 6 events we're talking about right now.
I know, it's crazy.
This is one of the events.
Just have the event corner.
Yeah, this is right. This is one of the events that I feel like I have to wait to see how it all wraps up before I could really enjoy it or not. But overall, it has my attention, and I'm looking forward to the next issue. And hopefully it doesn't drag on a little bit too long, but we'll see. What's your number 8?
Well, since you said that, it's funny because my number 8 actually falls into that category. My number 8 is actually going to be Generation Zero, number 6. Did enjoy the artwork. I liked certain elements of the story. I'm really starting to have issues with all the plots being open and not explained. But kind of like what you said with Spider-Gwen, this seems like it may be something that once they're done with the arc, then I'll be able to actually appreciate all these plots that were opened up and why they were opened up at certain points.
Yeah, the slow burn.
Yeah.
Right on. Respectfully so. My number 8 this week is going to be...
Your number 7.
No, number 9.
I'm just messing with you. With you.
Son of a bitch. I'm not sick this week. My number 8 is Harley Quinn number 12.
Okay.
I enjoyed it touching on... It sprinkling things out, planting the seeds for what's to come. It was a quick read for me. I thought it was kind of a rehash from some of the stuff. I enjoyed the Dreamland stuff a lot, showing the aspect of him trying to better himself, but at the same time, not being able to shake the past that the two of them have had. And You would have thought it would have ramped up for me with the now that you mentioned the whole like animated series being played in there. The art was really good though, but it still has me intrigued. Like I said earlier when we were talking about it, this is one of like the first arcs that I'm actually intrigued to see. You know how it all plays out. So that'll be my number 8 this week.
All right. That brings us to my number 7 for this week, which is Harley Quinn number 12.
All right.
I am enjoying the arc so far. This is probably my favorite issue out of the 2 since they've started it. Definitely like the dynamics of the dream sequence and what it could mean and what it seems like it means. I'm definitely interested to see what direction they're going to take this version of the Joker, to see if maybe he really is, trying to change and he does want that relationship with Harley, because I think that would be an interesting dynamic that we haven't seen with the 2 characters in the comics. I've said plenty of times, like, I think the movie versions of Harley Quinn and the Joker from the Suicide Squad were actually kind of scary, because you got 2 people who are both bat insane, crazy, ridiculously just gone in the head, that love each other and are willing to go through so much just to be together. So I think it'd be interesting to translate that into the comic books, and I think it would give them a bigger dynamic with the characters, especially if we got 2 other Jokers running around. We don't need 3 insane, Batman villain Jokers running around.
I can agree with that. Sweet.
So that brings us to your number 7.
Yes, my number 7 this week is going to be Invincible Iron Man number 3. Again, the more we talked about it a little bit, I enjoyed it. It left me on a solid cliffhanger, wanting to hopefully now that we've established who she is, being Ironheart, and moving forward, I'd like for the story to pick up. But overall, I thought it was a little bit of a rehash on some things, and bring in some of Tony Stark's baggage at the beginning of the issue. But not a bad issue at all. But I am now ready to see where this takes off, and hopefully it's a good payoff, and hopefully she gets her own title very, very soon. Okay. Same goes with Iron Doom. He needs to get his own title and not be compared to Iron Man.
That's what they should call it too. It should be called Iron Doom.
Iron Doom. I'd be happy with that.
I guess that brings us to my number 6.
Yep.
Which is actually going to be Justice League versus Suicide Squad number 5. I think this is a solid entry so far in the arc. Good artwork, some good revelations. Interesting to see this new quote-unquote version of the Justice League going to battle the mind-controlled Justice League. Overall, definitely liking it. It definitely got me hooked in to see how this is going to end, with the last issue being number 6.
That's my number 6 as well, and everything you just said, I concur. We're getting the last issue now. Things are ramped up. We got a weird Justice League team going up against a Justice League. It'll be interesting to see how they play everything out, and see if this whole event was worth it.
So do you think that it should now be called Justice League ? Versus the Injustice League?
The Injustice. Not bad at all. I almost switched these two. But no, what's your number 5? Sorry.
My number 5 is actually going to be, and I actually just switched this, and I can't believe I just switched this, but it's going to be Spider-Gwen number 16. I like where this is headed. I like you said, seeing the Earth 65 version of everything is always interesting when we get to go to Earth 65 and see the similarities yet the differences. I like that this is probably the first or second biggest role we've seen Matt Murdock play so far in Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, I would
since
agree.
The reveal of him having the power-ups. And I definitely love the scene inside the Black Scorpion, and enjoyed seeing Doc Ock and seeing all the stolen hero and villain paraphernalia and stuff in there being sold. I thought that was a great scene. I like the interaction between Miles and Gwen. Like I like that you can see their relationship, which as of right now is just a friendship, but you can see it growing and you can see them kind of getting closer.
Yeah. Nice. Sweet. Well, that brings us to my number 5, which is going to be almost was going to be Justice League versus Suicide Squad, but it's going to be Generation Zero. Yeah, I still have some of the same problems as you. I'm probably enjoying it a little bit more, just because I'm hopeful for this payoff, and I enjoyed the art a lot. And there were still some solid moments throughout the book, but again, there was one thing answered, one door open, but or one door closed, but 5 million doors opened in this issue. But yeah, we'll see how it all plays off though. What's your number 4?
Well, my number 4 was actually was the one that got switched with Spider-Gwen, was the Clone Conspiracy number 4. Solid entry so far in this arc. It was definitely interesting seeing Doc Ock's interaction with it is his ex, but his mind is not his ex. Mm-hmm. It was also interesting seeing how many people have been brought back and how many people have died directly or indirectly because of Spider-Man. It was also interesting to kind of see, even though it was weird to see Ben Reilly had that sudden shift in personality, where he went from the kind of goof off that I remember when he was wearing a Spider-Man suit to villain. Like in a second, he just switches in. He's just like instant villain mode. And then it was definitely some funny dialogue, like you said, with Spider-Gwen and Electro, and it definitely left me on a cliffhanger because we're essentially seeing what it was that what it was that Kane found out about the carrion virus in the other worlds. So yeah. I'm definitely on board and want to see how this is going to end up wrapping up.
Same. Nice. Cool. My number 4 is going to be Cave Carson has a cybernetic eye number 4. Even though it was kind of a drop in the issue for me since the previous 3, it's still, since I've been following this, I've been seeing, if you've been reading the book as well, if you're listening to this, you've been seeing the post dealings that he's going through since his wife passing, and there were still some cool moments. We finally have met, got to Shaw Muldrog, and we're getting more answers about his past. And I do hope that it picks back up and, we get some more answers for this final arc. Whenever, I'm assuming it's probably going to end within the next issue or 2. So hopefully it all pays off. And, still my number 4, still hanging in there. And what's your number 3 then?
All right. Well, my number 3, which, if not for my number 2, would have been higher, is going to be Batman number 15, where we wrapped up the Rooftops arc.
That's my number 3 as well.
Oh, well, I thoroughly enjoyed this. It was fun seeing both Batman and Catwoman in a different light. It was fun to kind of see the potential that their relationship and the way things could go in the future with these two characters. It was also great to finally find out who really committed all those murders, and also to find out how it is or why it was that Catwoman would even allow the authorities to think that she was the one to do it.
Yeah.
I thoroughly liked this. Like, seriously, I want them to touch back on this. I know that she appears to make an appearance in the I Am Bane arc, so maybe this will hopefully get some more, added to it through that arc.
Light. Yeah. Yeah,
but definitely was solid.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you said she does come back. You saw something that she's back.
Well, the cover for the first I Am Bane arc features Catwoman on it.
Oh, okay. Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like she was. It seemed like at the end of this issue, she was going back on the run.
Yeah, the cover of it is Batman with Catwoman. She's kind of hanging over him a little bit, like she's going to kiss him, but it looks like she might claw him in the back. And then it's got Robin, I believe that might be Nightwing, and Red Hood, and they have crosshairs on them, like and assassins after them.
Huh. Okay.
If you have your Harley Quinn issue nearby, you can flip to the back of the issue, and it's the cover to that is at the end of the Harley Quinn.
Okay, yeah, I just have the digital, or not digital, but
okay.
yeah,
Well, if you have the physical copy, it's in the back of that.
Okay, yeah, it usually doesn't come with the review copies. But sweet, yeah. I hearken everything you say for 15. I didn't like 14 as much. I thought it was a good story. Overall, it was a good story to kind of flesh out the whole Holly Robinson thing. I like the idea of her getting Holly out of the country. And by the end of what I took from it, I thought Catwoman was going to be on the run as well. So maybe she's not on the run, or maybe the artwork is just a dupe, and it's kind of just throwing one of those like throw you off type Marvel titles or covers. I mean, but it'll be interesting to see. And the artwork was way better, I thought, in 15. We had touched on that earlier when we were talking about the book. Like, that was some solid artwork. Cool. Well, I will go into my number 2 then, which is going to be Clone Conspiracy number 4. I think this might be my favorite issue of the series so far. I liked all the Anna Marie, Dr. Ock stuff. A lot of the dialogue was just amazing. The turn, like you said, of Ben Reilly after he got done talking to Peter about his Uncle Ben, just like that quick turn and him turning full villain. And it's interesting to see how this is all going to play out. It left us on a solid cliffhanger, and everyone in the city starting to turn. Anna Maria starting to turn. All those people in the Haven are starting to turn. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get rid of this virus, and what role. Hopefully Kane plays somewhat of a role in the next issue or two, however many are left. Because we haven't really seen much of him or do much yet. So, and he's the one that's known about this the entire time. So hopefully,
I think that Kane's going to hold the secret. I think what they were doing in the lab is what's going to happen. Is going to be Kane's going to have the secret to fixing this.
Okay, that'd be cool. Nice. So what is your number 2 then?
My number 2 is Killer Be Killed number 5.
All right.
This was a roller coaster from the beginning of the issue. I love to see, as we said earlier, the passage of time to kind of catch up with him to see what's happened in the last month or a couple months since we saw him. It was definitely refreshing to see the artwork be similar, but yet and still be different in a way that was like a breath of fresh air, I think, to the series.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, the first few issues, the first 4 are essentially during the winter, and everything's cold and dark. And here we get to see light and get to see stuff during the day. I definitely love the cliffhanger at the end with the cop, with him about to shoot the cop, but yet and still we see another cop that's coming around the corner. Just everything about this issue was really good. Like, this is really a solid issue.
Hell yeah. Well, we know what my number 1 is.
Yeah.
That's gonna be Killer Be Killed number 5. It's everything I wanted coming back into this. It was well worth the wait. I thought the art, like you said, it was more of a brighter colors. We're in summertime now. You get a real feel for the climate and the state of mind everyone's in throughout this. The cliffhanger, which is balls to the wall. Just the writing, everything about this, I continue to love. And like I said before, like they're doing a great job of juggling the past, present, and future throughout everything. It did a great job of catching you up, giving you a real sense of where all these characters are in their relationships, and how much has changed since the winter time, since where we left off. And it just continues to be a great series, and I look forward to the next issue and how this all wraps up, because I don't think it's going to end well for our boy Dylan, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
Nah, he's on the cops radar now. It's going to be crazy. But what is your number 1?
Well, if nobody's guessed yet, my number 1 is Invincible Iron Man number 3. I don't know what it is about this series. Just since we did the first issue,
Got you hooked.
It's got me hooked. I've loved every issue. This one was not a disappointment for me. I enjoy the dynamics of kind of seeing what's going on with Stark Industries since Tony's death, and also I love the interaction between his mother and the exec, and Friday and Mary Jane. I love the fact that she finally has her armor. While they kind of did what we touched on, where we talked about having her build her own armor, I like the fact that she built it with the tutelage or the guidance of the AI Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm.
I love the banter between the two, where he's trying to kind of get into her head and trying to, let her remember why she's doing this. And while, as I said before, I didn't like the name Ironheart initially when they announced it, this issue made me love it and want them to change the name of the series as soon as possible to Ironheart. Love the interaction with Pepper at the end, with the surprise of her having her armor, and then the surprise of the ninjas stealing both of their armors to make the super ninja robot armor, and the cliffhanger, this is trouble. Because neither one of them are prepared to do any kind of battle with no armor.
None at all, yeah.
I love everything about this. I love the art. I love the character. I love the supporting cast. I just love everything about this book.
Oh, yeah.
And once again, this is an issue that I wish I had the cover as a poster.
Right. You should just collect all of them. Have a little man cave and just have all the covers. Get posters
from all my favorite books.
Yep.
All my favorite book covers, just as posters, just framed and hanging up.
Yeah,
I can get I can get the Spider-Man cover from last week, and I can get the all-new Wolverine cover from last week, and I can get this.
Right. I need to get all the Killer Be Killed covers.
Yeah, there you go.
Get all them screen prints.
Yeah, if any of these publishers are listening, you guys can give us covers. You can give us posters. We love. Contact us at ColumbusCommonCorner@gmail.
At least a discount.
We'll give you a list of our favorite books.
Yeah, at least a discount.
Yeah, or that too. That would be acceptable.
Yes.
We're plug your products on air.
Hell yeah, sweet. I know you said you got some honorable mentions in this week.
Oh my goodness, I did. Did you get any in this week?
Yeah, I got a few.
Well, I have more than you, I'm pretty sure. So maybe you should go ahead and just do your honorable mentions first.
Word. Besides some of the stuff that we may be talking about next week that I won't announce yet, okay. I read Avengers 3.1. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. It was. Did you read that?
Yep. Yes, I did.
Sweet. We can discuss a little bit. I thought it was a very throwback comic. And then
still,
halfway through, I wasn't too sure about it, but then by the end, I was like, "Oh, okay, I see what they're doing."
Yeah,
now.
you saw the twist that came towards the end.
Yep. So yeah, no, we don't usually do spoilers in our honorable mentions, but if you have not read Avengers 3.1 and have not been reading the series by Mark Waid, go read it. It's amazing. What else did I read? I told myself I would do it last episode probably. I read Deadpool the Duck #2. It was very forgettable, unfortunately. I read it once and I was like, I no need for me to go back. What else did I read? I picked up Ultimates 2 #3, but I haven't read that yet.
Okay.
What else did I read? My Judge Dredd magazine didn't come in, so I couldn't read that.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I was a little bummed about that.
You were excited for that. You were like, oh, it comes in, I can't wait.
I was telling you that all week too. What else? I read. I remember I mentioned to you about the Definity Stalinverse event they're doing at Valiant.
Yes.
They released another one shot called Definity Eric. That was pretty cool. Some solid sci-fi type stuff. It's kind of it's a different universe opposed to the regular Harbinger War, but they're essentially throughout the whole Divinity series they're trying to figure out this lost time type deal.
Okay.
So that's interesting. I definitely recommend checking that out. And then I think that's it for the most part. Yeah, that's all I got in this week. Oh, Harbinger Renegades #3, solid issue. If no one's been reading the Harbinger Renegade stuff, it's kind of picking up where the end of Harbinger Wars ended, and the team is slowly getting back together to fight this bigger fight. But we're actually, by the end of this issue, you're actually not sure what this bigger fight is, and there's a kind of a solid cliffhanger. So I definitely recommend reading that stuff. And if you're listening and you haven't been reading Valiant, sometimes it can be hard to find a jumping on point for some of the Valiant stuff, but Harbinger Renegade is a series you can jump onto, and the first issue or two does a good job of catching you up to what's gone on previously, to what not the bigger threat, I would say, not spoiling anything, but yeah, it just gives you some insight to what's going to come, and it's just a good take on superheroes, so definitely recommend that. Other than that, like I said, I got a bunch of review copies that I know we're talking about a couple of them, so, and we talk about that off air, so just make sure you listen to the previews by the end of this, and you'll hear what we're talking about next week. But what's your honorable mentions?
That's funny. I can get the mines now. I said that you read more books than me, but then you started reciting off like a whole dictionary's worth of comics. First book I read was I also read Avengers 3.1, which was, like you said, it was fun. It was a throwback in the beginning and in the middle and the end, kind of threw a little twist in there for you.
Yeah.
I also did read Deadpool the Duck. I don't think it was forgettable, but it was pretty kind of sort of forgettable.
Yeah, I say that just because I can't remember what happened.
Oh, I got you.
I didn't really move the story along at all. I remember that much. Like, it almost felt like reading the first issue again.
Yeah, we don't know what's up with the space rapists or anything.
Nope.
Also read Venom #3.
Okay.
Been enjoying the Venom. Say that again.
Did the art get any better yet?
It's a slight change on the art. The art it's changing. It's not completely changed yet, but you can see it's kind of like it's going somewhere different.
Okay.
But this was probably actually my favorite issue so far in the Venom series.
Nice. Some
interesting revelations. Puppet Master #20.
Oh yeah, I meant to ask you if you were going to read that. I saw it was coming out.
I know I've been saying forever I keep slipping on reading my Puppet Master, but I read it this week, and very good, interesting, and yeah, I definitely will be reading 21.
Nice. I'll have to pick that up.
And, yeah, pick it up. It's got a couple things in it that I'm gonna have to go back on, but not enough to take you out the book.
Yeah, because I usually use your recommendation, because I remember last time because we talked about doing one of the previous ones, and you were like, yeah, I don't know about that squad of puppets. So I was like, yeah, I'll just wait until you're the puppet master of us too. So yeah, I'd take your advice on that. So I'll pick up that issue.
What's funny is that squad of puppets is in this book, but they different ways that I did not see coming, which actually made her in the book.
Okay.
It was really interesting seeing what they did.
Nice.
And the last read was the Amazing Spider-Man #23, which is a Clone Conspiracy tie-in. And so far, we talk about tie-ins on the show, but the last time I read one, it was also a Clone Conspiracy tie-in. And the last one was one of the few times we said where I said where a tie-in is actually a tie-in to the main story.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tie-in from the main story. It turns out I can say this without spoiling this for anybody, but it turns out when Spider-Man went to Haven, in between the moment where he gave the speech to the Jackal that caused the attack, he had a conversation while on the lab. He had a conversation with Gwen Stacy.
Okay.
Like they went off to the side somewhere and had a long conversation, and it was a really good, powerful conversation.
Nice. Yeah, because I read Amazing.
So
I read issue 22.
Was the Ben Riley?
Yeah, the Ben Riley
right?
one. Yeah, probably the only difference between 22 and the Clone Conspiracy 4 was their talk that they had, kind of giving a little bit of detail to his plan. Then they played into that in number 4 this week.
I was, because I think I suggested you read that one.
You did.
I would definitely suggest that if you get a chance to read the Amazing Spider-Man 23, that is a very powerful conversation.
Nice. Yeah, I'll add that to the list as well.
And list.
Hell yeah, cool. Yeah, we got some books in this week. We got 9.
Yeah, we did, man.
The 9 books we read for the show, plus 5 other ones, 10 other ones.
Yeah, it's a record.
Right. Awesome. Cool, man. This is a long show. This is fun.
Yeah.
Our longest one yet. Cool. Well, let's get it. Oh, go ahead.
I know the pilot. I was gonna say I think the pilot might have this episode beat.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Cool, everyone. Well, thank you again for hanging out and listening to us. Make sure you stick around after this, where we always tell you what we're going to be reading next week. And again, thank you. And follow us on Twitter at Comics Corner Pod, or email us, all that good stuff. You know where to find us. And we'll talk to you next week. See ya. Next week, we'll be discussing Flash number 15, Aliens Defiance number 9, Justice League of America Killer Frost Rebirth number 1, Hellboy Winter Special One Shot 2017, Suicide Squad number 10, Justice League vs. Suicide Squad number 6, Inhumans vs. X-Men number 3 with guest Brandon Murray, Doom Patrol number 4 with guests Reggie and Chris from the Cosmic Treadmill, and Spider-Woman number 15